Of the hearing, we're going to try to keep it to about 3 minutes. We're going to use a phone timer to let you know when the 3 minutes, but I'm going to let you finish your statement. And so
your sentence.
We're going to try to make sure we get through as many as possible. And so with that, is Arthur Woodson here? Arthur, thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. And when you hear the alarm, just know that you've hit the 3 minutes, but finish your sentence.
Okay. My name is Arthur Woodson. I'm going to try to make it real brief. I'm a veteran rights advocate. In June of 2014, I was helping a veteran with his claim, which was Camp Lejeune contaminated water from 1957 to 1985. At Camp Lejeune, they had TTHMs. So I found out from a person who worked at the water department that our TTHMs was 196. So 154 pounds, 2 liters a day at 0.8 is, after drinking it, is contaminated. So I went to the water department and asked Howard Croft, where is the advisory notice? They was in violation of a tier 2 and we needed a 30-day advisory notice. They wouldn't give us one. So they knew about the TTHMs. August, we had E. coli and Legionella started at that same time. And we still had TTHMs. In November, we had another TTHM violation. They still wouldn't give us one. So I called the EPA, Heather Chauvin, and told her, which is the enforcement agent, team leader for Region 5. She called down and told Mike Prisby to issue an advisory notice. So we got that in January. March of 2015, the EPA offered MDEQ lead experts. They denied it. They didn't want it. That July 1st email that you read from Susan Hedman to Dane Wally, in that email, it offers him the same lead experts, which he denied. Heather Chauvin sent me an email so that I can give to the city council so that it would show that they would offer lead experts. I took it to M Live September the 3rd at 9:52 that morning on September the 3rd. Dane Walling, the mayor, he accepted the lead expert that day. Now, speaking about Genesee County, the reason why they asked for the health person to say something is because in that 2011, July 2011 study, it states that if Richfield Landfill gets an NPDES permit, they had to do a study on it because they was going to have a storm runoff into the Holloway Reservoir. Well, then they didn't never do the study, and they went to the health department to find out if it'd be all right for them to use the Flint River, which they said no. In August of 2015, I have a memo from McLaren Hospital that states that they had to stop bathing the patients, and they was washing the newborn babies off with water, bottled water. Also, at the same time, they wouldn't say anything about that. So I have the memo for that also. March of 2015, Viola, which was a consulting firm that came in, they did a study. And March the 12th, 2015, they put in the study that Flint needed to get a corrosion control, which would cost $50,000. All this is on paper. And the reason why they left Detroit was getting ready to get control from 1977 EPA. They was going to get control March the 27th, 2013. But Governor Snyder sent Kevin Orian March the 25th, 2013 to take control of Detroit's water because that would take control of Detroit. Was that my time? All right. All right, thank you.
We do have the website. If you would like to add additional information, it's theflintwatercommittee.com. And if you would take the time to add anything that we've missed, we would truly appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have Tabitha Finn. Tabitha? Thank you. I know you've been here all day. Thank you.
It's all right.
Press the red button in.
Oh, over here.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. As everybody addresses the water crisis, I have a new address to present to you, and that is one on special education. My daughter is 13. She has a disability by nature, but because she's been poisoned, it made it worse. The schools cannot handle these kids. They want to lock her in a room now by herself with 3 adults and separate her from all her friends and any kind of socialization she'll have because of behavior problems that have been increased due to the failure of the government. I have reached out to Rick Snyder, Dane Walling, all of them. All I hear is, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Well, that's not an answer anybody needs or wants to hear. There should be no excuses when it comes to these kids. They've been poisoned. All these kids, all these Flint kids don't need to hear a government saying, I'm sorry, we're limited because we're federal or we're state. There's nothing we can do. Do we want, as a city, to be known for our jail cells or our classrooms? Cages or classes? Because me, I'd rather see more classes, more schools being built here than jail cells. You know, we cannot fail our kids no more. This is not excusable. And I have contacted everybody on every level. MDE has even failed my daughter. 2 years, no education. How is that possible? How is that right? In a country wealthy, we need more teachers in classrooms. We need more educated teachers. We need more social workers. We have maybe one at my daughter's high school that's got 90 students that she's got to cope with every day. We need more mental health services. But don't turn this into let's drug these kids either. Although medications are great, it should not be the only answer for these kids. It is tough to raise these kids that have special needs. As a parent, I know. But I do not want to put my kids on drugs because they're screaming in a grocery store and I have people look at me. So what? Keep looking at me. Because my city failed me. My government failed me. But even worse, you failed these kids. How do you even look and say to these kids and say, I'm sorry, I poisoned your water. I'm sorry, now you can't even bathe in it. And then go to school and have them picked on, bullied, because they can't take a bath. Or the food they can't eat. My son has autism. I spend more money on trying to just pick different things for him to eat. We don't get federal or state help, you know? I just wish that y'all would take more consideration with these kids. If not us adults, for the kids' sake.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen of the committee, for giving us this opportunity to have our voices heard. It's something we have been wanting for the last 2 years. Our voices weren't heard. It's why we're all here today. Okay? We had the right for our representatives to represent us by election taken away because finances weren't handled properly. Well, finances do need to be handled properly, but when the state comes and takes funds that we need to use to repair our infrastructure, to distribute it more evenly among the rest of the state, that leaves us lacking. And that's how we got to this place. We have an infrastructure that's leaking almost 50% of the water that's put into it. Somebody has to pay for it, and you know who's paying for it? Us. We're paying for it. 8 times the national average for water we can't even drink or bathe or use for anything. We really even shouldn't use it to flush our toilets because it's corroding our plumbing, it's corroding our heaters, it's corroding all the infrastructure, and it's damaging our bodies. People, children, animals. My mother had to put down 6 of her cats in the last 2 years. Her vet told her, I don't think it's the lead. She lives in one of the zip codes that has the highest lead in the city, but oh, she's just a crazy cat lady. It's ridiculous. We need to be heard. We have concerns. Okay, this isn't something that we chose to have happened. If anybody here had asked anybody in the city of Flint, would that be your first choice for drinking water? Every single one of us would say, hell no. We know of the dead bodies that are found in there regularly. We know of the cars that were dumped in there for insurance fraud. We know of all the things that have been dumped in that river for the last 150 years. So why would we say, oh, that's where we want to get our water? Seriously, anybody with 2 brain cells to put together to think and say, oh, let me go down 6 months down the road, is this a good decision? They would have said no. And this, to me, is what I find the most galling thing. There are people who are earning very good money to work for this state that are supposed to be protecting us, protecting our health, protecting the property values in this city by providing what we pay for in our taxes. And these people didn't think that we were a community worth going out on a limb on.
Thank you. We have wanting to speak next is Edward, is it Hort? And then Carissa Ruffin and Karen Youngblood, just to give an idea of the order. So, Mr. Hort, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Hort. I'm currently the director of the Center for Civil Justice. I started working in 1974 as a legal services attorney for the people in Flint. For 29 years, I was the director here. I did my first lead project for children 20 years ago. In 1770, Benjamin Franklin wrote 6 letters warning of the dangers of lead and water. He did that because the places that had lead roofs, all the vegetation around the building died. In the 1870s, Europe banned lead paint. In 1976, the United States finally banned lead paint, but only in places where people are. It is still used on the roads, it is still used on the bridges, it is still used on machinery. And the dust from those things gets into our water system. But I don't want to talk to you about the water system. What I want to talk to you about are those things that you can affirmatively do now. 1, don't tell people that they could drink water that's filtered. It's not any good. 2, if they have their water tested, it does not mean that they don't have to worry about it in the future. Just as the first person who testified talked about the differing levels when it was tested. You can test 0 one day and 500 bits per billion the next day. 3rd, the National Guard and the state police are handing out 1 case of water per household per week. Estimates are that it takes 4 cases per person per day, and that's if you don't have an infant. We have to vastly increase the amount of water that is available for people. I mean, think about it. You drink it, sure. Brush your teeth with it, yeah. You have to do your dishes with it. You have to wash your clothes with it. You have to try and heat it up to bathe with it. You're going to go through 4 cases in a hurry. Other things. The doctor told you that one of the best things you can do for children who have been lead poisoned is nutrition. The state has made a practice of cutting back on food stamps for people. This does not help nutrition. If we can increase the food stamp allotments and take away some of the barriers for people getting it, we will increase nutrition and be able to help those children. These are things that are within your power to do. Right now, we've heard some testimony regarding Medicaid paying for lead testing of the blood of children. Medicaid pays once a year. We need to test children more often than that. And I do hope you can ban all of lead paint. Thank you.
Thank you. Carissa Ruffin. I thought that was Carissa Ruffin? No?
She's not there. Could I speak, please? No.
Have you turned the card in? We brought 500 cards. I don't have 500 cards in front of me. So if we're missing a card, we'll get you a card so you have the opportunity to speak. Karna Youngblood.
She actually left, but
Okay.
I asked if I could speak in her place. I'm already on the card.
Okay.
My name is Desiree Duell. I'm a community artist and activist with Flint Rising. I moved back to Flint, Michigan in 2011 after working all over the country on poverty issues using the arts. I was on the master planning process as an advisor for public art and was part of the Community Facilities and Infrastructure Steering Group, which first discussed the KWA pipeline. Last year, I did a public art project about the water issue, and I found out that the residents were deeply concerned and their concerns were not heard. The final installation was done in August 2015, and I had done all the permitting, and I was accosted by then the Public Works Director, Howard Croft, and asked to leave because I was embarrassing the city during Back to the Bricks. It was really unfortunate because I had worked with youth and parents and residents to tell their voices. I'm also a single mother, and it's been very difficult coming back to Flint, trying to find work in a highly specialized field, and I live below the poverty line. To address the issue is why only a third of our residents who need WIC are getting them is very difficult to access these services. Organizing a mom's group that I am now is very hard. You should not need a PhD to get on Medicaid. I myself have spent 3 years trying to get on Medicaid. I'm educated. I can go through this paperwork. I've worked in social services. And I ask you, please, to stop the red tape, to make these services available for mothers and children. They are the largest demographic living below the poverty line. We need to take care of our children. And also, we need more educational services beyond the age of 6. Our children do not need to be criminalized because they have behavioral problems because they've been poisoned. We need special education. We need to have these services readily available. I'm also participate in the resource meeting with the stakeholders of the response team with the Red Cross United Way, and it is very frustrating to find out that we possibly won't have a website up for another 6 months so that our residents know what's going on. We need a comprehensive action plan that addresses the residents of this city. We know what's wrong. We know what our children need, and that we need to be at the table when we are discussing these action plans. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just, was it Miss Youngblood? Was that?
No, that's not her name.
What was your name? Did you
My
have it?
name is Desiree Duell.
Desiree? Okay.
Yeah.
And have you turned a card in?
I have turned a card in. It should be in there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Ms. Youngblood here?
No, she's gone.
She's gone.
Yes.
And Nick Custer? Good afternoon. And then, is it Jerry Preston would be next, and then Carrie Weber, just to give ideas. Thank you. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'll be very quick. There are 55,000 parcels in Flint that receive water. My understanding is that the state only plans to replace lead service lines or lines in general to 5,000 to 10,000 of those. I think we're disregarding the fact that this corroded water has impacted every property and every line in Flint, Michigan, including the copper, including the galvanized steel, including the mains. I'm very lucky to be one of 20 people that have had my lead service line replaced all the way to the main through EPA funds. Additionally, foundations have paid for some, and the mayor herself has found funds. The state's paid for nothing so far. It's really a travesty to have to live like this day in, day out, and one day of it's enough to show you exactly how hard it is. I just had a few quick concerns. One is that if you've seen the pipes that may have began as 1 inch, once they're corroded, they have maybe half an inch to a couple centimeters of room for water to go through. I believe just putting treated water through that isn't going to do anything but pressurize the water and potentially break off more of the corrosion into the water system. I'm sorry. Lastly, or second to last, there has been no distribution of shower filters, even ones that could stop Legionella and chlorine issues. I think that's really a travesty. It's very difficult for people to find these in the community. They can be quite expensive. And we're having to bathe in this water, which we know is not safe and yet has not been tested for other chemicals besides lead and some heavy metals. Lastly, I don't believe $30 million is sufficient to pay people back for the water. They spent, this is one of the poorest communities with literally the highest water in the country. We spent thousands of dollars per home. We don't have the wealth to be throwing around, and I don't believe that a couple $100 in a refund is sufficient. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Preston?
Or Jenny.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jerry Preston. I live at 613 Pearson Street in the city of Flint. We all know that the situation we find ourselves in is the result of several decisions made on inaccurate information. I've got a little different take today. I think the decision to employ the Flint Water Treatment Plant as a source of water for the city was made because of a decision to leave the DWSD as a source of water. Now, why did the city want to leave DWSD as a source of water after more than 50 years of satisfactory water service? This appears to be the first decision that was made on inaccurate information that leads to our present situation. Why did the city want to leave DWSD? As you know, DWSD has several sources of water for its system. DWSD supplies Flint water from Lake Huron that is treated by the Fort Gratiot plant and is transmitted by a very large pipe to Lapeer County, where the water is distributed and split into a supply for the northern Detroit area and then on to Flint. The reason to leave DWSD is not because there's an insufficient supply of water. It was said that it was the cost of the DWSD supplied water that was given us as the reason for an investment in the KWA. As you know, the city of Flint had the franchise from DWSD to supply all of Genesee County with water. The city of Flint purchased the water from DWSD, sold it to Genesee County, who sold it to the townships. With all these markups, one would think the water supplied to township residents would be very expensive. To the contrary, the Flint Township residents pay approximately 1/3 of what Flint residents pay. If you look at the chart that I had, and these are 2 years ago, I presented these to the City Council. This one says a tale of two water bills, and it compares the Flint water bill with the Flint Township water bill of the same time period. Now, if it's the cost of water that's causing these high rates in Flint, why is the Flint Township bill 1/3 the price of a Flint bill? So the document I wrote and presented to the City Council demonstrates this. I then examined my personal Flint water bill in more detail. and determined that the cost of the Detroit water in my water bill, and that's the second document I have for you, was less than 10%. Now, I happened to live by myself at the time, so I used 1 unit of water, which was 100 cubic feet. The cost of that 1 unit of water was $2.10. The typical water bill, which is 5 units of water, is about $115. You'll see that on the chart. And the cost of Detroit water was $10.50. Now, the big threat at the time was Detroit was going to double our cost of water. Well, that $10.50 out of that $115 water bill had forced that water bill to $125. Big deal. It was not the cost of this infrastructure, it was not the cost of Detroit water that was a significant factor in determining what the Flint water residents pay. And it was confirmed when the city finally switched to the Flint water treatment plant. What happened to our water bills? They went up. You'd expect they would have gone down, but they went up. My goodness, how can that be? Instead of our water bills decreasing, the cost of service, the bills increased. The cost of DWSD water was not a significant factor. I think that the reason for the KWA water pipeline was some other reason. Something else was driving it. I don't know what that is. At that time, you may know that we were buying up a lot of mineral rights at the time, and fracking was a big thing. And to me, that may have been the proposed use of this water. At this point, as I say, DWSD as a source of water is not the reason. The cost of the DSDV water is not the reason for KWA. So it seems to me that we should continue with the source of water that has provided satisfactory service to this city for more than 50 years, and to concentrate on maintaining and improving our water distribution infrastructure. I'd be pleased to answer any questions, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would it be possible to provide your written statement for the members? Could we have that copy that you've brought with you?
The written statement?
The one you just read from.
Yes, I have a copy.
If you would provide, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Carrie Weber, and then Sherry Hayden, and Judy Alexander, just to continue the names going forward. Thank you so much, Carrie. Please proceed.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I'm here for every adult and teen in the city of Flint. And my purposes are because I'm a mother and a wife dealing with lead poisoning and my husband and my 16-year-old. And if you look at the governor's 75-point plan, there is still nothing in there for those above the age of 6 or 7. Not only is my husband been lead poisoned, has uncontrollable high blood pressure, which is killing him by the day. He's lost a third of the vision in his eye. Not only has the state managed to do this to him, we're paying for it. Because he has a Medicaid spend down, we are now $8,800 in debt for his medical care directly involved to the blindness caused by his lead poisoning. My 16-year-old is currently undergoing liver issues after they found lead lines in her entire body in a bone scan that had nothing to do with the Flint water issue. This was for an unrelated incident. My other daughter, at the age of 20, and when Mr. Belichick sat here today and said they did not inform the doctors, he's not kidding. She went to her doctor for 3 months. My daughter had pneumonia. 7 antibiotics later, they couldn't cure her. This is a healthy 20-year-old woman. They finally took samples from her. In December, we found out she had had Legionella. There's one place my daughter got that, and that was at our very own home. This was 2015, August, September, October. We're coming back into Legionella season. They're now warning us because they care to let us know what's happening. I still, to this day, I have begged the EPA, I have begged everyone, test my hot water heater. They've had full access to my house. I need to know where the Legionella is. We don't have an option to leave the city to take a shower. nor should we have to, but it's not an option. I need to know before Legionella season's back where it is in my house. We don't know where we know it's somewhere in our water system. So between the state harming my husband, harming my 16-year-old, harming my 20-year-old, and my lead levels are high too. My 16-year-old, her lead levels were at a 6 5 months after she quit drinking the water. We have no idea what they were. So I'm begging you, gentlemen, quit ignoring the adults and teens. I have struggled for 3 months to get my 16-year-old, who now has 4-hour panic attacks from taking a 5-minute shower. It took me 3 months to get her into counseling through Genesee County Health Systems. And I had to take it to the top. There is no reason. These wraparound services do not exist. We need help, every one of us, and that includes our teens and our adults. We're all poisoned. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry Hayden. Thank you for being here.
My name is Sherry Hayden. Thank you all so much for being here. You must be so tired. All that hard listening, I really appreciate it. I hope that you will follow up on the issues raised by Jerry Preston that we heard today, and I personally am nervous to go back to the KWA because I think it'll start the problems all over again. I'm a volunteer officer in a neighborhood group serving about 1,300 households on the east side of Flint. Some of the highest lead levels were found in my neighborhood and nearby. The first pipes were replaced about 6 blocks from my house. At a recent meeting, the question came up about the water's corrosive effects on appliances. Now, numerous neighbors have told me that their dishwashers just died. Then mine did. It's not very old either. Corrosive water wore away the bearings in the shaft. Now, I don't mind dishwashing, doing dishes by hand, but it's actually one more thing I have to deal with. While a broken dishwasher is not on par with lifelong lead problems, obviously, failing appliances are going to mean yet more big expenses for residents. So in my house, we have boiler heat, so that corrosive water is going through our whole house. When is it going to eat through the lines? And when is it going to cost us thousands of dollars to repair? When is our hot water heater going to go? It's acting up now. Those are very expensive to replace. It's now very expensive to live in Flint. The cost of living is supposedly low, but our water bills are 3 times higher than other places. Insurance companies are redlining our homes. They don't want to insure our homes unless it goes through the roof. Now, my big neighborhood has very low crime rates, in part because we have a good neighborhood watch, but we're still being punished for the high rates. The whole city is. And we're taxed at the highest rate now to pay for police and services that used to be paid by revenue sharing to the cities. The amount of money that was removed from revenue sharing was about what we have to pay extra on taxes just to get some police here. So we have all these extra costs, and my latest extra cost was from the lead tests I had to get, my own blood tests. And in fact, just this week, I got a Legionella test for this lung infection that just won't go away. Yeah, that was me coughing back there. Don't worry, the only thing that's contagious is my attitude. My attitude is this needs to be addressed. We need legislative help for these problems that will remain long after the TV cameras are gone. We did not cause these problems due to neglect. We didn't deserve this. This is my home, and this is my community. I choose to live here, and I love it here. And it's just not appropriate for people to say, oh, just bulldoze it. Not right. One more thing, while I want to thank you all for holding this hearing, again, I'm really kind of disappointed in the Joint Select Committee for not invoking subpoena power. Where are the 4 emergency managers who ought to be called to testify together? There should be. there should be 4 chairs up here, and they should be testifying together because they're going to contradict each other, and I'd like to see that show. Where's the governor? Where's Howard Croft? And, of course, where's Andy Dillon? Andy Dillon, the money man. So, people keep saying that this should never happen again. The only way this will happen would be we'd have to retire the dictatorial, authoritarian CEO management style. Running government like a business turned out to be short-sighted and a very expensive experiment in Michigan. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy Alexander? Judy? Lee Sorensen? Lee? Is it Noreen Duchesne and Keith Remerton?
Pemberton, yeah.
Just to give a heads up. Lee, thank you for being here.
Pyrrhic victory kind of comes with cutbacks, huh? If we've learned anything, it seems like denial is a standard operating procedure. And the last best method of ensuring water quality is point of service. With these new service lines, are you also going to install a filter system in front of the meter? Because even if you put, I don't know, concrete in these pipes to keep them from corroding, you know, I mean, eventually it's a failed system. You know, I'm wondering what the cost break analysis is for building a new water system and maintaining it, you know, and extra $200 or $300 million for a pipeline into a pathetic system. And you know, falsifying government documents is a crime until you get to your water bill. And that was all I had to say. I mean, how do we overturn a simple ordinance against drilling wells? You know, why are we reaching to extreme measures to provide water that's right under our feet? I mean, unless General Motors has condemned us 33 square miles of the city of Flint. But, you know, they won't be held harmless. They filed bankruptcy. Record profits today, bankruptcy, and freedom from harm for the damage they did to this city. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
Thank you. Noreen Duchesne?
Say it louder, they couldn't hear you.
Noreen Duchesne? She left. Thank you. Keith Remington? Keith? Remington. Keith, thank you.
My name is Keith Pemberton, and I live in the 9th Ward, which is at the south side of Flint. I have 2 children and their families that live in the south side of Flint, in the same ward. I have 5 kids that attend grandkids, I should say, that attend Freeman Elementary School, which when it was tested, it tested at over 100 points per billion. And the state DEQ come in and did a test in the school using the wrong testing procedures and said that the only thing wrong in that school is the water fountains. All 5 of my grandkids that go to that school have tested positive for lead. And they say it's the water fountains. They haven't been allowed to use the water fountains in a while, but they still test positive for lead. So where's the lead coming from? You asked earlier about what the setup is in Flint or Genesee County about the mental health problems. What's being done? I can tell you this. For the last 8 years of my working the adult part of my life, the working part, I worked at Community Mental Health for Genesee County, right downtown Flint, right up the street a little bit. And I worked as a mental health therapist. And I could tell you that we do not have a mental health system in the state of Michigan that is meant to help people in their time of need and get better. We have a maintenance program of mental health in the state of Michigan. The mental health programs have been cut so much that now all you do is you go to the doctor, you get your medicine, you get a case manager to make sure that you get in touch with all of the places around that you need to be connected with, whether it's housing or utilities or doctors or whatever, and you're maintained. Problem with that is the people have mental health issues. That's why they're going there in the first place. And they don't maintain well on bare minimum treatments. So they act out. What happens in our mental health system to people who act out, they have mental illness? They get dropped from the system. And then they become part of the criminal justice system. And then that's where they die. So that's what we have to look forward to for the city of Flint and the county of Genesee and the state of Michigan, with all the other places around that are having water problems, just like we are. Only now they're coming to the front because ours came to the front. And I'm proud to be called a Flint water warrior. I've been a water warrior for 2 years. We marched in the freezing cold, we marched in the rain, we marched in all kinds of weather. And we still advocate for the citizens of Flint. One issue only. One issue only. Clean, fresh, safe, affordable water. Everybody else has made this into all kinds of arenas about different problems. We have one problem. Clean, safe, affordable drinking water. That's it. That's it. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's a people issue. It's a people issue. And I beg you, please, please look at it like a people issue and not a political issue, because it is a people issue.
Thank you. Quincy Murphy? And then Melissa Mays and Mr. Murphy, thank you for being here.
Good evening. My name is Quincy Murphy, and some of you may not know me, but I am City Charter Commissioner for the City of Flint. I also is one of 3 who language was approved to recall the governor. And I just want to explain to you guys why I and so many of us have decided that we feel like the governor need to be out of there. We was fighting and protesting and rallying in Lansing when they was introducing Public Act 436. A lot of us went out and collected signatures to repeal Public Act 4. I've watched politics over the years, and I remember when Dane Wallen was the mayor and he asked for a $20 million stabilization bond to balance the books in the city of Flint. And the governor denied that and gave him 8.5, but also took $8 million in state revenue sharing from the city of Flint. So when I look at the dynamics of the attempts to decrease state revenue sharing and not give us enough to cover the books, which made us go into a state of emergency, then to declare a state of emergency the day of the election and come in and take over and sell Genesee Tower for $1 after residents had to pay probably $12 or $13 million in a lawsuit on the building due to past administration failures. I said this governor is really not helping the residents of the city of Flint. And then to go and turn to the Flint River water when we could have stayed at Detroit, he have really created a disaster. And I think you guys should look at declaring the city of Flint a state of disaster and not just a state of emergency. It's that bad. And not only that, he has created more of a problem for us. I feel like, and a lot of us feel like he should resign. And the reason why, one, he should resign, because he created the problem. And I really didn't, I was trying to hear some substance about the governor created this. When you look at everybody that came and testified today, this is the result of what the governor created by this emergency manager law being placed in the city of Flint. So he really should be charged for this kids being exposed to lead and dying from legionnaire disease, but I don't know what's going on with that. But for the Republican Party, and I think some of you that are Republican, you need to go back and tell your colleagues that in 2.5 years, it's going to be a governor's election for the state of Michigan. And they need to work on rebranding themselves, because if they expect for Michiganders that's been calling for the governor to resign to sit there and vote for another Republican after this man has messed us up, it's going to be an uphill battle for a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm going to keep it real with you. But I'm just going to give y'all some advice. You need to go back and tell the governor the Republican Party needs you to resign, because they're going to have to rebrand themselves for the next 2.5 years if they want Michiganders to trust them. Because right now we don't trust them. We feel like it should be an independent EPA and DEQ, all of them, because we don't trust them. How can you create a crime and then investigate your own self? How can a governor mess the city of Flint up like this with this emergency manager and think we want him to fix it? We do not want the governor to fix Flint. We want him to get up out of office, pack his bags, hit the road. But if he don't, I'm going to take my time, my leadership, my 20 years of being a community activist, and I'm going to do all I can to recall this man and put him on the ballot to give us our democracy, to give us a choice to see whether we want to keep him in office or not. A lot of us don't want to keep him in office. He refused to resign because he acted arrogant. We do not want him as our governor. Will y'all go and send him a letter and let him know Quincy Murphy and a whole bunch of others of us do not want him as our governor. We don't want him coming to Flint on these backdoor meetings. We want him to do just like y'all had everybody else. The elephant that y'all needed in the room was the governor, and he ain't here. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Mays. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's been a minute. Ditto to Quincy right there. I agree with him. Okay, so as I was listening to everything today, Mr. Canfield, when Mona was testifying, I heard you speak about information inciting fear. I was told I was doing that in January 2015 when my group, What Are You Fighting For?, began disseminating data and science from experts such as Bob Bocock, Aaron Brockovich, Lois Gibbs, and more. I was told to shut up. I refused. Let me explain what fear actually looks like. Never knowing how high my family's blood lead levels were when we were drinking the water, because we were kept in the dark. Not knowing if the symptoms are going to get worse. Not knowing if these tremors are going to get worse. Not knowing if my sons are going to completely lose their memory or just keep having memory loss gaps that they are. Not knowing if the pneumonia that my son had through the whole month of September of 2014 was Legionnaire's. Not knowing what's going to be coming. We are told that the full effects of these toxic metals won't be seen for 5 years. We got another 3-4 years of fear because we don't know. So what we've become is educated. What we have now is knowledge and awareness and power. Citizens are no longer sitting by allowing politicians or purchased voices to lie to us and provide false assurances to minimize our trauma. We are smart, we are educated, and we are tough. So we need to know what all is in our water. As I got out of the shower this morning and my skin burned, broke out, and peeled off, my common sense tells me the water is still not safe. As we, the citizens, beg for answers about the rashes and get nothing, we have to once again go to an outside independent source, just like we did with the lead. Water Defense tested my taps, my water heater, and my bathtub, and found high levels of aluminum, 12 times the recommended amount of phosphorus, which means it's not sticking to the lines, it's coming straight through my pipes, which means it's not ready yet, obviously, it's not working yet. Twice the maximum level of chloroform, which is why my family's dizzy. We have asthma attacks after our showers. I have an emergency inhaler. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, which I appreciate, that's great. And why we get sick, and why my sons refuse to bathe. They are 11, 12, and 17. They are smelly, because they're boys, and they are active kids. But I have to beg them to take a shower over my own better judgment because I know it's not safe. So now we are doing everything we can to bring in camping showers. I don't know if any of you have gone camping. These things are awkward and impossible to use. We have to fill them with bottled water. They're heavy for my sons, and deal with that and try to warm them up. And we haven't had a lot of sun, except for obviously today. And we have to warm them up in our windows because the water that's coming through our taps is still not safe. So Water Defense also found bromodichloromethane, which doesn't sound safe because it's not. It's a trihalomethane, and 370 parts of dichlorobenzene, and the max is 25. The last two are carcinogens, and they also do damage to the kidneys, liver, and brain, which could be why I'm having seizures. And it could be why I am off work and have been since January 7th because of liver issues and kidney failure. I'm 37. I don't deserve this. My sons don't deserve this. So when I hear the state say it's okay and safe to bathe your babies, it's infuriating. This is something that needs to be stopped and needs to be stopped now. There has been no science done by the EPA or the DEQ yet to prove that the water is safe. Yet somehow Ms. Eden Wells likes to throw this out that it's safe to put your children in. And actually, if any of you have read the slideshow on how to actually deal with the water rashes, she actually suggests that you take a bath in oatmeal in this water, and to make sure you wash all open wounds with this water. And we've heard testimony at any meetings, if you look it up, people who have lost toes or other limbs or developed E. coli infections in open wounds. So this is what's being fed to us still. 2 years later, this is all we get. Lies, information, and say, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. That's why they keep telling us, and that's what we keep hearing. And this needs to stop. We're smart. We know better, so we've got testing. So Water Defense, which is Mark Ruffalo's group, they've been testing all of, from the water meter to the water heater, all the way up through all the taps and the tubs, the way you would actually use your water. This needs to be done, because what they're finding out is that all lines need to be replaced. And that's the next question. Since I am no longer just worried about lead and copper in my water, and there's no science proving the water is safe to bathe, how can the state be allowed to put this information out? Next question. Since there's more than just lead in the water, why won't any of you, the legislature, anybody pushed to have all metal pipes removed, as the Plumbers Union 370 suggests. Lead needs to go. Iron corrosion in galvanized pipes breeds bacteria, and so the galvanized pipes need to go. My water comes through blue every day, so the copper lines need to go. I have a copper service line, and every single day, to this day, my water is blue. So I can look at it and say, that's not safe. That's absolutely not safe. That's terrifying. And for everybody else who's got lead and no color, they have no idea. People are thinking, oh, the pipes are healing, it's getting better, it's getting safer. I can drink it now. Wrong. There's so much misinformation and cross-information out there. It's pathetic, to be honest with you.
Melissa, do you
yes.
could we have the questions so that we could go through those? We want to make sure that we get through everybody.
Yes, I'll be quick.
Okay.
I'll be brief.
Thank you.
And then also in July and August of 2015, the Coalition for Clean Water actually went to the governor's office with maps showing the rashes, the lead tests, the TTHM tests. We sat in with Dennis Muchmore, Harvey Hollins, Leanne Schechter-Smith, Stephen Bush, Brad Werfel. They knew about this information, so I have another question about who hasn't been fired yet. Why does Harvey Hollins still have a job? So the next question, when will the state legislature hit the root of this disaster and denounce the emergency manager law? That needs to be done immediately. And the next question is, Mr. Canfield, I testified in front of you in legislature June of 2015, and it helps spurn the water package that includes water quality, water affordability, notification, and more. Can you tell me why the water as a human right package is still stuck in committee and not pushing forward, especially after everything that's happened to us? And basically, we deserve better. 7 months ago, through science, individually, the citizens proved the water was toxic. We are living bottle to bottle. There is no dignity. And if we have to wait until October to see any kind of money or change, I invite all of you to come hang out and shower at my house and see how this feels. We deserve better. I mean, yes, we're Flint. You know, obviously, what were we not a community to go out on a limb for? But we are. And we're going to keep fighting. And every single person that gets in our way, we're just going to come after you too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Melissa, could we have those questions since you have them written down, please? Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Janice Muhammad? She's gone? All right. Bishop Bernard Jefferson? I'm sorry.
Did they tell it you, Bernarda?
For now. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. And my name is Bishop Bernardelle Jefferson.
Sorry.
No problem. I have been called worse. And I have a few things before you today. Tried to take notes in order to be effective at what I say. One thing I want to say first and foremost is that the root of this problem is not the lead in the water. The root of the problem is the emergency manager law that took our democracy away and gave dictatorship. Maybe some of you voted for it because you didn't understand it. Like so many times, people vote for things and they don't get the real understanding or know what the effect or the outcome is going to be. But I pray that you take a second look at this law because they put a seal on it where we could not go back and vote because the people had spoke in 2012, November the 6th, which was my birthday, and I spearheaded it in Genesee County, that we voted no. That was the best birthday present. And then in December, they came up with the lame duck session. So I want you always to remember that it is not the lead in Flint. It is not the education in Detroit. It is not the waterfront in Benton Harbor. It is not what they did in Pontiac. It is the emergency manager law that has affected us all. When it comes to what the emergency manager law has done here in Flint with the lead in the water, and I pray that you heard, Dr. Mona, that we have to treat each and every citizen in Flint, Michigan, as they have been contaminated, because they have. And after 20 to 30 days, it's out of their bloodstream and it's into their bones. It has already done the damage. And why do I know it has done the damage? Because my grandson, which is 10 years old, that was chose to be the ambassador, the academic ambassador for 2014, 2015 because he was an AB student. Was supposed to go to Washington, D.C. to be a representative. When we went to Washington, D.C. the first part of this month, and we took him and his grades, he had 3 Fs on it. He cannot sit still for 20 minutes and read in the classroom now. So it has already affected him. So we need to treat every child, not 1 to 5, but each and every last one of them, that they will be affected, that they will have a lifestyle, that they will be able to prosper, not only 5 years, 10 years, but for the rest of their life. We stole that from them, and we need to give it back. We need to make accommodations. We need to make means for them that they will be able to have a good education and be a viable citizen in this community, in whatever community they go to. And so we have to treat each and every one of them as they have been affected, because they have, whether it's show up now. And I believe that when you take these little blood tests or take their blood, you just want to, not you, but they want to find a way to get out of and stick us again. And we're tired of being stuck. We are tired of what they're doing. I'm tired of what the system has done. Every person that's got up here and spoke have been paid to do a job. And not one of them that testified today, not one of them that testified the first part in Washington, D.C., and not one of them that testified in February spoke and did the job that they were paid to do. They took an abundant amount of money, of our taxpayer money, and took it and did not do what they were paid to do. And it is your job, each one of your job, to make them accountable, to make them stand up for what they done. You said I was paid to do it, but I couldn't do my job. Well, then why were you paid that amount of money? Why did you take our taxpayer money? We had a freedom to vote. You didn't recognize our vote. Recognize our voice today, because it's been taken away. Give it back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Reggie Davidson? Reggie Davidson? Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. My name is Reggie Davidson. I live in the city of Flint. I work with the Flint Restoration Group. My day job, I work as a contract paralegal for a few attorneys in Flint and Detroit. Flint Restoration Group, we submitted a package to each one of you all with respect to a next step alternative. And as leaders, as you all go about the business of discovering what went wrong here today, we'd ask that you please consider some solutions, and some solutions now that the everyday Flint resident can actually feel. And I'm mindful that the Senate Minority Leader, Jim Annanek, Senator Caldwell, State Representative Neely, those of you that are impaneled here have looked into the viability of things like whole house water purification units as a next step to just having bottled water and sink filters, because people have to shower, they have to wash their clothes. And so what we did is we came together, some regular City of Flint people, some lay leaders, some accountants, some attorneys, and we looked at a few things. We looked at a socioeconomic model, not something based on profit motive that NSA and some of the water companies might have to come in here and just look to make some money, selling people something. And then we looked at the nonprofit side of it too, where you have churches and organizations that are engaged in trying to do what they can to help, but also stay on task with what their mission is and serving the people. And so we saw that there was about 28,000 people paying water bills in Flint. And according to 2010 census, you had 40,000 homes, of which about 23% were abandoned. So you have about 31,000 homes, according to our estimates, where people live in. And so roughly about 17,000 homes as of March the 4th of this year have turned in those water tests to the DEQ. And you can go online and see all of the red lines of the houses that are at least 15 parts per billion lead, which is supposed to be unusable, even though there's not a determination on what level of lead is actually acceptable or usable. And so, you know, we've seen reports from Wayne County School Engineering and Virginia Tech, and then we went about screening about 14 different companies throughout the United States and here in Michigan that had experience in whole house water purification systems. We ended up dealing with a group out of Holly that has a warehouse here in Flint, Artesian Water Technologies, because they had a system that seemed to have been tailored based off the EPA reports for the city of Flint. They were looking at the turbidity, the color, the TTHMs, the polychlorinated biphenyls, the lead, the copper. And so this particular system, even though it looks like a water softener, it performs like reverse osmosis. It's 3 stages. We bought some, installed them in some houses, came back non-detect for lead, non-detect for copper. And they had about 8 months worth of data, and I know for a fact that they've been sharing it with some people in the DEQ. You all probably can go behind this and find this information. And so we have City of Flint people. We found some contractors here in the City of Flint that have the bonding, the licensing, the plumbers, HE Power contractors. They have a letter in there, and they committed to hiring people from the City of Flint, even in the OJT capacity if necessary, to go out and help install. We've identified block watch groups on ML King and Bishop that meet at a police precinct, that have the cultural capital with the people in the community that can sign them up voluntarily to receive such a unit. And so what we want you all to consider is that people from the city of Flint is not just talking about the problem, but we actually want you all to consider a solution, so that when you're coating the pipes and you're tearing up and changing pipes and all that nasty stuff is going to run somewhere, it's going to run into people's house, that they have a vanguard right at the house that can catch it. And what we liked about this particular system was it's 5 years maintenance free. 40% of the people in Flint are poor. They can't afford to buy filters. And so you all spend millions of dollars helping bottled water come to the city of Flint. And we estimated it'd be about 45 million to put a whole house system in everybody's house. And so we're going to ask public, private. We're negotiating with some of the locals here, Coca-Cola, the beer distributors that enjoy people buying 40 ounces and 22 ounces every day. They trucks dropping off from 5 to 8, that they apply a little bit of parity, they apply a little bit of reciprocity and give back. And we've added an element of nonprofits so they can at least get a tax deduction. So we're going to do, whether government do or not, we're going to try and use socioeconomics, but we would hope that y'all would give this an ear, perhaps have us come before your committee and allow us to give you some more details, so that when y'all on the state floor, monies that already have been appropriated, that y'all consider this next step solution, because it'll address shower, it'll address clothes, it has some history. We don't know what we don't know, but there's some data that's there to show that this works. And we don't care who offering other products. If they work, you all should consider it. We should be solution-based as well. We shouldn't always just look at the problem absent of considering a solution. And so some of us here in the city of Flint, we've rallied together. We want you to know there's some solutions, and we want you to consider them. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Not right now, but we have your information. Thank you very much.
All right.
Any question?
Lathan Jeffries?
He's on a phone call.
He's on a phone call? So, all right. I'm going to go to Claire McClinton. We're going to go back to Lathan. Sorry. Thank you for being here. Perfect.
Hi, my name is Lathan Jefferson. I live at 2812 Lewis. One of the cities that you sit in right now is a city that made it possible so that you don't have to speak Chinese or German. I'm not being a racist here, but we built a war effort less than 3 blocks away. They built tanks and guns to send overseas to make it safe that you could be here and sit and be in the positions you're in. Now, out here on, I'm going to go back 18 years ago. 18 years ago, they wanted to put in a wood-burning plant. There was a federal law that says it's a civil rights law to be able to build that plant around the low-income and Afro-American neighborhood. The EPA allowed them to build that plant anyway. They turned around and put a compost plant over in that same neighborhood, okay? Anything that they want to do around the people in this area, in this neighborhood, they do it, regardless of what the law is. And we have to deal with that kind of stuff, and it's not right. You say we're looking for welfare. Yes, we are looking for welfare because we made it possible for you guys to be who you are and where you are right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Claire? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for bringing this hearing to the city of Flint and showing some interest and caring about the nightmare that we're living through here. Now, I think that most of the testimony today has been outstanding, especially the life stories of the experiences of the people. So I'm just gonna bring a couple of points. We do need to be declared a disaster area from the federal government. We just can't, we don't care where the money comes from, if it's a Michigan dollar or a federal dollar. We need some help. The $85 million that the president sent here did not come to Flint. It went to the state, and oh well, you know, your colleagues are going to say, well, we can't give everything to Flint. We got other cities and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But the argument and the pushback for that is this. We bought it and we own it. We broke it when you passed Public Act 437. When the citizens said we don't want emergency managers in the state of Michigan. Now, that was not turned down by just the cities with emergency managers. All but 6 counties defeated Public Act 4, and it was arrogant on the part of the legislature to turn around and pass a new law and tweak that law. So we already got a dictatorship mentality here. And this is not something that the people of Michigan is used to. This is not what we used to live in like. We don't appreciate being humiliated by sending in an individual to consume all powers of our local government. We don't believe, and this is not Democrat and Republican, because trust me, Republicans got out there and worked just as hard as Democrats to put that measure on the ballot and defeat it. They tried to get rid of the governor then, but they didn't quite have the organization to do it. And this is a bipartisan thing because democracy is democracy. The other thing I would urge you to do is those who have not signed on to the legislation to repeal Public Act 436 should do so right away, because a price will be paid for those of you who continue to think that the people in Michigan want dictatorship. We don't want it. We don't want nothing to do with it. It was a big mistake, and it led to the poison of this city. And please, we have had all kind of media in Flint, national and international media, and we do not fail to let them know that it was a public policy that brought this tragedy on. And prices will be paid at the voting booth if we don't get this mess straight. And I appreciate you, Senator Hanna-Attisha, for signing on, being a co-sponsor of that legislation. And this is not a plaything. This is some dangerous stuff. Only in Michigan do you have anything similar to that. So my final comment is this. I wish, and again, I appreciate the committee coming and hearing the voices of the people, because I don't think you would have known some of the things you learned today had you not come to Flint. But I wish you could go around to the other municipalities and school systems and hear similar testimony as it relates to 436. I wish you could go to Benton Harbor and talk to the people whose park was stolen from them, Jean Clark Park. I wish you would go to Muskegon Heights and ask the people how they felt about the dissolution of their public school system, that the emergency manager brought in that was sent there, brought in a private for-profit school company, Mosaica, and got rid of all the staff in that public school systems and told the teacher, if you want to teach in Muskegon Heights, put your application in. Now, this is not what, is this what kind of Michigan we want to live in? I don't think so. And rest assured that the people in Flint and the people of Michigan will not sit back and tolerate. We don't want a future passing on lead poisoning to our children and grandchildren. We're not going to stand for that. So I thank you again for coming. I think we're at a crossroads in our society. This model in Michigan is a black eye to our state, and it's a shame and a sin. And what we want is this. We want to create a Michigan where the human beings, humanity and humanitarianism flows broad and wide. That's what we want. We want a Michigan where the needs of the people are priceless and precious and put on the front burner, not profit and gouging and stealing our public parks and lakes and golf courses and the rest of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Donna Secor Pennington. Donna? Angela Mitzel?
Says that she doesn't wish to speak.
I apologize. It is marked you don't wish to speak. But thank you for being here. But Angela Mitchell,
That one says she does want to speak.
now wants to speak with this card. So, is Angela here? Nair Sharif, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here, and I apologize on the pronunciation.
Okay, wonderful. So, so my name is Nair Sharif, and I am with the Democracy Defense League, and we were one of the underground groups who were organized to fight against the emergency manager law, and also one of the water warrior groups who brought this to light, that we did have lead contamination in spite of the organized efforts by state government and the emergency manager to try to squash and try to marginalize our voices. But also, since the emergency declaration, I'm part of a new coalition called Flint Rising, and we organized to really confront the on-the-ground, long-term organizing needs of this community in our fight for reparations, justice, and accountability in relation to this water crisis. And it was somebody who asked, like, what was going on the ground? And outside of Flint Rising, not much, because we're doing the state's job for them. because if you go, I hope when you guys go back, hopefully you will have a hearing at some point in time to talk about solutions and really like call to testify some of the groups who are organized on the ground, because what's happening out here is shameful and a human rights violation. Because I'm not sure, like, I think all of you guys should be challenged, and you're all men, to be challenged for 1 week to live your life only with bottled water. Bathe in it, cook with it, drink with it, so you can begin to feel the dehumanization that Flint residents face on a daily basis. We have to basically have an underground railroad quilt to figure out where we're going to get water, because if you don't, there is no comprehensive list outside of the fire stations with the state distribution sites of where you can get water. And we have not even begun to discuss of how the undocumented community discovered that there was a lead contamination, and it was after the emergency declaration. On the state's website, the translated, quote-unquote, translated materials into Spanish and Arabic is basically gibberish. So that needs to be taken down immediately because they're literal translations. We have to go to the EPA to get materials so we can go door to door and get accurate information to identify the basic needs and to bring everybody into this fight, because the state and the county health department or whoever needs to be some public health nurses on the ground, going door to door to do a community health assessment. We have been exploited by the state, and we continue to be exploited throughout this recovery effort. Our lives and experience are worth more than a checklist. The governor's 75-point plan, or as I call a 75-point plan in nowhere, also includes SBA economic injury disaster loans. Now, Senator Joe Hune, I see that you represent Livingston County, and you're eligible. Your county, the businesses in your county is eligible for this SBA loans. Also, the businesses and places that are eligible with this declaration is Lapeer, Oakland, Saginaw, Shiawassee, and Tuscola counties, in addition to Flint and Genesee County. Now, I am extremely tired of the tragedy of the city of Flint to be used for other people's political gain and for them to profiteer off the tragedy of what happened here. Budgets are statements of values, and hopefully one of the things that you can do when you go back to Lansing is to tell Speaker of the House, Kevin Cotter, that he needs to get out the way because he has inserted himself into this crisis. We need help now. We cannot wait until October 1st when the budget is done.
If you
Also, what did you say?
The time has, I want you to finish, but I want to make sure we get as many others up here.
Okay, I'll wrap up.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh. So hopefully when you will call a hearing and ask people who are on the ground, who are facing and organizing outside of all of these, outside of the Red Cross, outside of the United Way, and this is basically a volunteer effort that we're going door to door because we recognize that this needs to happen, and the state is not doing that. And hopefully, as you move through this appropriation process, we will have money for water buffaloes and 55-gallon drums, so we can actually use and move beyond bottled water as we work towards replacing the infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Zyman, because I'm going to mess this up really bad. Kozicki? Oh.
Senator Stamas. I got my stopwatch here. I just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of things. One, Flint's not the only city in Michigan that's facing this. We just happen to know that Flint has this problem. What we really need is a water quality index for all our municipal water systems. something that we should have done a long time ago. We're a modern country. Like an air quality index. We need a water center in this state, something that's unbiased, that's connected with universities, medical schools, that does epidemiological studies, that doesn't leave it up to people in small communities or large communities to decide what the public should know. The public should get this information daily. It should know what the water quality is. They're paying for it. In terms of hospital water testing, which is my area of expertise, we don't test for pathogens in hospitals, or we do so infrequently. We don't know what the extent of healthcare-acquired infections are in hospitals because we don't test for it. And it costs a lot of money in Medicaid costs, which is something you should be concerned about, Medicare costs, which, again, we should all be concerned about. In terms of contaminants and pathogens, the EPA has done a lousy job for years because they're political. They add a few every 5 or 6 years, and it's usually ones that don't offend anybody. There's about 14,000 chemicals that they don't test for. There's probably 20 pathogens they don't test for. And when they send the regulations down to cities and states, they usually leave it up to each state and municipal water system to determine what it is they want to test. So it's really a watered-down system, and we see how it broke down here. We see how dysfunctional it is here. This is a case study. This is the worst possible case study. Now, could this happen again, and again? Yes. So do we want to stop it? Are we smart enough to stop it now? Are we brave enough to stop it now? We can do it. When you go back, you have to be a bipartisan group. You have to get all of your colleagues to understand how important this is. It's your children that's drinking water in Ann Arbor, or up in the Thumb, or in Midland, your grandchildren, your wives, and you don't know what's in it. And this secret has got to end. We should know what's in our water, not just a few select people. So, Flint is not the only city. I mentioned that. Have you been thinking about this more because of Flint, though? Sure you have. I sent you a copy of a report that Dr. Biasi and I completed that we shared with the 14 congressional representatives from the state of Michigan who serve us in Washington. But the champion for this has to come from Michigan. The 14 congressional people in Washington know we need to do something, but the leadership has to come from you. You have to suggest to them how to spend our federal tax dollars. And those 14 people have to get together and convince the rest of Congress that Michigan is the place to have the first prototype water system, first modern system. After all, we have 18% of the world's fresh water here. We should be taking care of it better. We have a great resource here. And maybe Flint should be the place for this center. Maybe that's part of the bargain. Maybe Flint gets something back for its pain and suffering. Maybe the water center should be built here, right on the campus of the University of Michigan. You know, think about that. And then it could be here for years to serve all of us. And maybe something to return to these poor people who are suffering even now. So I want to say, maybe one of the ways you could even get this passed through the legislative group who doesn't want to pay any more taxes, let's just add a beverage tax. Let's just add a nickel to every beverage sold in the state to support the water center here in Michigan. It's not much, but it'll add up. And everybody will then have a nickel in the game. Maybe that's a starting point. I think what you will be surprised to find out is when this water center starts doing testing, what's actually in our water. Now, the second step in this, let's build the water treatment units here in Michigan and ship them all over the world. We ship cars out of here all over the world. Why can't we ship water units out of Michigan, out of Flint? Maybe the rebirth of Flint is it becomes the center for building water treatment units for households all over the world. I've been in China, I've been in India. There's billions of people there who are drinking crappy water. We could sell them lots, but we could put this all through the United States. Now, this is a great moment to step out of the box and think outside the box. And let's face it, let's all be honest here, our state agencies have failed us because they're bureaucrats. They're protecting their own butts. They don't care about our butts. They don't care about these people's butts. They care about their own butts. And let's be honest about it. We need to change that. They need to be more accountable. You understand what a public servant is because you run for an election. You're accountable at least one time every cycle to come back and talk to your constituents, and you hear it. You get an earful. So you are our last great hope. You're our last great hope of public servants because we elected you to represent us, to take care of us. And what we're asking you to do is just step out of all that political crap for a few minutes and work together, be strong, and really come up with the best thing that you can for all of us. Because we're all depending on you. And we all depend on this water. Let's do it. Let's do it for Flint. Let's do it for Michigan. Let's do it for the United States. Let's show the world that we are a leader right here, right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Leverett, thank you for being here. Then Tony Palliero. Tony, you'll be up next. And then Dorothy Batchelder.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for assembling here in the city of Flint and taking our questions in person and facing us. Much of what I wanted to say has already been said. You felt the passion, you felt the pain. But the invisible needle in the haystack is how our property has been devalued. And my personal belief is that that's what this was all about. It was making sure that property was worth zero, so that people would basically be forced to move because you have no other option. People with unpaid water bills were having it attached to their property taxes, which could then within 2 to 3 years have a lien placed on their property. So I ask you, I implore you to please look at the financing efforts so that people can keep their property, so that people can remain in the place that's their home, that we can also have jobs restored, because I believe this was all strategic. I don't want to, say the conspiracy theory, but unfortunately I've been here for a long time. I was born here. So thank you, Mr. Antonek, for your efforts. I thank all of you again for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
The bottom of this hat says, I voted. The top of it says Flint. I voted Flint. Thanks, Jim. Wow, I've been here all day, and I heard you guys are tired. You tired?
We're here.
2 years. 2 years. 2 years we fought this. We're more than tired. You understand? I'm so confused now. I've been wanting to talk. It's like I don't get heard. I get yelled at, almost arrested. You know how embarrassing it is to go to city council and have to stand up and tell you, no, you're not going to arrest her for speaking up or speaking out. Eric Mays, we went to court with him because he spoke, the only person on that council that spoke for us. And you know what's funny? That's a black guy. I'm a white guy. I don't see no color here like I've been saying. People of Flint know this is not a color issue. We are dying. All right? I want to touch on this guy that's just here. Let's make this a business. This is the state of Michigan. You guys know they're coming in taking our water. Look what Nestle done. They bought a spring and then isolated us for $5,000. And I can go on and on. This guy talked very good stuff. I hope you get his information. The lady that just sat here, I don't know if you guys are aware of this thing called the master plan. Flint, are you aware of the word master plan? Yes. Flint, are you aware of the word master plan? Yes. All right. Now, I've been screaming about it for 10 years because I know how it started. It started with the other word, land bank. Flint, are you aware of the land bank? Yes. Flint, has the land bank helped all of you? No. Do you feel it's going to help all of you? No. The land bank was designed to put these properties, and I mean all of them, back on the tax bracket. That was a beautiful ideal. I know I designed the Clean and Green program that they've mutilated. They've destroyed it to clean up our neighborhoods.
Tony, would you pull the mic just a little away from you so
All right, how's
you
that?
can understand it a little bit better.
Here, how about this?
No, I'm not trying to get too far.
No, I know.
just
Here it
want
is,
to make
guys.
sure that they're understanding. Thank you.
5:30 today, the master plan's giving each other awards for what they've done for our city. I wonder why we're not there. I think this is more important. I want the Department of Justice to come inside this city and investigate the Mott Foundation, the Community Foundation of Flint. I want this whole place looked into. We want some residents on these boards, and we want a word to be heard. We have been raped, robbed, and pillaged. Now, not all of it is bad. Jimmy, you know what I'm saying. Literally stood up last night, Republic, who took all our garbage trucks and made a business and got rid of our city workers. The county's coming in now to take care of our jobs. We can't even feed ourselves. And this water problem, they just now today, I own 10 little properties, 4 houses. I've been working at the Journal, lost that job. I haven't left. My wife has. You understand? You guys don't know the struggles. My granddaughter, I cry. I stand and I scream, and I'm tired of saying we do. We do. We're not being heard. You guys, when you get back to wherever you hobnob at, or whatever you do, you're not as tired as half of us. And here's the other thing. I'm bouncing. I'm sorry. I got so much on my mind. It isn't just about the children. God bless them. It isn't. I'm dying. I'm not going to see me getting this tooth fixed that I lost up in this business. This hair looks like a lot. I got 4 bags. The CDC finally freaked out and said, well, Tony, we're going to pull the trigger on this one. Really? A year and a half later, you're going to tell us you're going to frickin' do something? And you look at the people that come up to you all. We didn't even know each other hardly. I've heard so much intelligence and what we've taught, and maybe we don't always agree. Maybe we don't always understand each other's fight. Understand this, guys. We're dying right in front of your eyes. And this could be you. And in fact, if it was Snidey, I think things would change. There is a master plan. Churches are exempt. 501c3s, grant money. This water fiasco, the governor's still running it. 9 pods, 9 wards are going to get somebody from the government to help run that ward. And then there's somebody over them 9. The very first week, the county granted $499,000 for state troopers, sheriff departments, health things, to pass out water that was donated. Free water. Now here's where I'm at. I can take any of these people out here, and Jimmy, you know what I'm talking about, because we clean neighborhoods, and I'm telling you, give them $10 an hour, 2 hot meals, we'll throw this water. And I told all the churches, all the foundations, I told the Surgeon General, I said, if this water's sitting in a church or in a building, then somebody's not doing their job. Why do we have to go and do the stupid-ass governor's job still? No matter what we do, we got to go pick this. Have you guys ever picked up a case of water? Just one case. Put 75 on top of that. And then I got to take care of my mother-in-law, the elderly people on my street, and it hurts me because I am the ultimate East Sidean volunteer. And I was at one time. Me and my wife have really been to the extremes. Check me out. He'll tell you. He knows. But every time I lift a case of water, I want to do this to Snyder because he's not doing his job. We are. And they're paying people in the state to still stay in the city and run it. And you know why? Because they're hobnobbing behind closed doors with the elite of the city of Flint. You hear me, guys? Bring in some major investigations. We asked for water bladders. We washed. The guy literally stood up at council the other night and says, well, we're afraid that the people of the city of Flint will not like these water. Kiss my ass. What do you mean we won't like? Excuse me, I'm sorry about swearing. You guys got to understand something. This ain't no joke. And as the summer hits and these THHs and all that start increasing, we're going to be fist fighting amongst ourselves. And that's what you want? You want to really? You know why the National Guard's here? Martial law, we know what's going on. You may call it paranoia. We know what's going on. And this guy that sat right here to sell you filters, you understand what I'm saying? I talked to him last night. He mentioned Melissa Mays. I talked to her. He said, that's a bunch of junk. His stuff ain't working. Who do we believe? I've had the EPA, the EDG, the MMA, the CBA. They've all been in my house. They're just now tearing up my street. And not one of them tests have popped very good. I got 107 at one house, 235 parts. LeeAnne stood there when my finger was in the mayor's face and told him it was at 104, and for him to be denying that the governor doesn't know is a lie. So please, I'm so glad you're all here. Let's just keep this going. And Jimmy, you know I love you, man. You know we're East Siders. We'll do a shot of Crown. There ain't no shame in our game. And we'll get dirty together. Understand it. I don't mean to, hey. And look at this guy. Look at Eric Mays. He looks like he's been through the Civil War, man. Look at us. We ain't all healthy. We got teeth missing. We got attitudes, anxiety. We're angry. We ain't being heard. And as far as the money, drop us $250 billion, you guys. Bring us the money. It's not reaching us. It's stopping at the community foundation. It's stopping. It's stopping. It's not coming to the streets. It's not. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
Dorothy?
Oh, here comes mine now.
Yep. I'm 72 years old, and my name is Dorothy Batchelder, and I shouldn't have to be here. I have stormed the state capitol. I've done calls. But my question to you is, how can you sit there when I don't see any of you? I mean, there's a 2007 sediment report out. There's a 2011. As far as I know, some of you haven't even looked at that. How many of you have seen either of those reports? Can I show a raise of hands? None of you. So you're ill-prepared to even question.
Which report are you referring to, Dorothy?
The 2007 sediment report, that's still there in the sediment. In 1989, that Flint River was declared a Superfund site, okay? Now, you can't turn around and know what's in that 2011 report and then say that you didn't know. As I listened to Dane Walling, I was in a meeting in October of last year when he was confronted by Councilman Mays. He admitted to knowing what was in that report, and he was rather arrogant because he seems to think Public Act 436 protects him and Snyder and all the rest. I disagree. He's not my governor. I didn't want him. The people didn't want the Emergency Manager Act, and it took away my power. It took away your elected officials. It took away your opinion and everybody in this room, and it allowed Snyder to poison me and everybody in the city of Flint. I have nieces and nephews that have been poisoned. I have a little baby before she was even born. She's 4.5. Her brother's 5.5 lead level. I am mad, I am angry, and I challenge each and every one of you to go back and tell Snyder to step down. Show us that, you gave $13 million in taxpayer money 3 hours north of Flint to Nestle's. They got a $500 million plant there. And what did they pay for water? Nothing. They paid a one-time license fee of $5,000. How dare you sit there and tell these people there's no money? This is the richest country in America, and I am appalled. My husband lays dead out there in the National Cemetery. He gave 8 years of his life for this country and this flag. And I noticed in Flint at City Council, you want to know what the Emergency Manager Act did? I'll tell you what it did. They're still complacent. They're still afraid of Snyder. They did nothing. That fell on deaf ears. And I'm sure each and every one of you, like me, because I don't live in Flint, I can go home like all of you. These people can't. So I don't know what you'll do with it. The reports are there. These people should be held accountable. I don't care whether Democrat, Republican, but I thought I lived in a republic where democracy ruled and the Constitution meant something. I am tired of living in an oligarchy. I am tired of the dictatorship of Rick Snyder. I am tired. I have sat through dog and pony shows. Media's been here. Nobody's told the truth.
Thank you.
Can you hear?
I heard you.
Will you do something? I implore you, will you go back and take this back to Rick Snyder, because this is his legacy. He's poisoned a whole town with his management. It doesn't work. That should be repealed or whatever you have to do, and he needs to go. You could pass a law to change the ballot, okay? I think that law was passed in 2 weeks. Okay, was that Dylan that worked on that? And the lieutenant governor? You know what? I'd rather see that man run the city of Flint, because he shows a human side. Let's see whether you guys have one or not.
Bruce Stiers? Bruce? Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for being here. This is day, I believe, 706 since this disaster. So over 700 days, people have been waiting for relief. And I would challenge any of you, I don't care if you belong to the monkey soup party, okay? I would challenge any of you, go 700 days with a family. Go 700 days without the basic composite glass of water. Go 700 days without being able to make a cup of coffee. Try it. I wanted to come up here today, not to tell you about the 700 days, but I wanted to come up here today to tell you that because of the lack of following the federal safe drinking water laws, federal laws, because of the lack of the ability to follow and adhere to those laws as they are written in the four corners of the contract that make the law. Those laws are why you're here. The laxness of the agencies that you pay hundreds of millions of dollars in appropriations to, the reason you are here is because they failed. They failed you, they failed us, and they are still failing to this day. This governor that's here with the emergency manager law, this thing that he's passed has created a situation, not only for us, but it is serving as a model to the country, who is also looking to try to do this in their states, in their government. But the issue here is a Safe Drinking Water Act. Now, under the laws, these notifications that are supposed to go out in the event of an emergency never happened. The notice to the people, it never happened. And so if you aren't given a warning, when the Beecher tornado came through here in 1953, It created such a disaster because of a lack of warning that it enacted laws about warnings. And so we have to imagine ourselves 25 years from now, when we're looking back at this, to see how it happened, so we can prevent it now. So you can take back with you the things that you need, the tools that you need to have. And so if I can say just one more thing on the tools that you need to have, what you need is public opinion. And you not only need it to hear it, but you need to take it home with you. And you need to discuss it with your wives. And you need to discuss it with your children. And you need to get their points of view. Because they're looking at you like we're looking at you. And they're saying, why is this happening? Dad, can't you do anything to help those people? Can't you? And so that's what we're asking. It's not a big situation. It's a large disaster. But it's not a big situation because it can be controlled if you will only enforce the rules and the agencies that you pay hundreds of millions of dollars to not see this happen. So let's try to adjust ourselves. Let's try to make these things of this capacity. When it comes to our rules and our laws, we follow rules and laws. Okay? When there was an announcement made about the Karagandhi, there was in the advertisement, you'll be able to treat your water in whatever way you want to. Who treats water the way that they want to? In the Karagandhi advertisement, in the opening statement, the reason for, you'll be able to treat your own water. You don't come up with your own standards. This is what happened here. They came up with their own standards. They knew what the federal laws were. They knew what the rules and regulations were. The gentleman that sat here in the water treatment man, the state certified man, it's his Bible. Who throws out the Bible? Okay? And so that's what happened here. And it happened here because emergency managers are not engineers. Mr. Croft was not an engineer. Okay? He's an electrician. He's an entrepreneur that the governor thought, he's an entrepreneur. Okay? And so the debacle here comes in. We've got that engineering company that said that it was okay to go ahead and do this. It was $4 million. As soon as the check was written, they skipped town. The same people are working on the Karagandhi. You need to check that. We need our $4 million back. If you can do anything for the city of Flint, get that $4 million back from that engineering company that they skipped out of town. Bring those gentlemen to task. Put them under arrest. I don't know if you can arrest the governor or not, but you can arrest the engineers that are responsible for this because they screwed up. They didn't follow the rules. You guys didn't screw up. They did. So we all need you to help train them so they don't make you look bad. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 10 more, so I'd like to make sure we stay for that. Is that all right, gentlemen? Yeah? Good. Laura Sullivan. Thank you for being here, Laura.
Thank you very much for coming here and asking for our testimony. My name is Laura Sullivan. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering at Kettering University. I first became involved in the water issue in Flint when my students and I approached the idea of helping churches and neighborhoods gather rainwater so that they could flush their toilets so that people wouldn't be evicted from their homes. We didn't get very far, but that's where I was in the room when the water quality issue came to the forefront. I was maybe fortunate to make it onto the technical advisory board that the Mayor Walling called in response to the concerns regarding TTHM. I was at that first meeting of that technical advisory board on March 3rd, 2015, when Veolia was brought in to make recommendations on what should happen at the treatment center to deal with the issues regarding TTHM. There had yet to be any discussion about lead. One of the things that happened was, even though there were no physicians invited to that meeting, only representatives on the facilities level at the hospitals, and even though there was no faculty invited to that meeting, only facilities people from the universities, I was there, as were a number of physicians. And there was a complaint made by the physicians present that when the notice came out to the public regarding TTHM, and the public read the statement on that notice that said, if you have small children, if you're elderly, if you have a compromised immune system, you might choose to contact your physician about whether or not you should use bottled water. None of those physicians who got those phone calls had even heard about the TTHM issue. The city had directed individual citizens to contact their physicians about using bottled water, but the city had not let anybody from the health community know that there was elevated TTHM in the water. So this came up at this first technical advisory board meeting. And the response to that concern from the physicians, from Howard Croft, was that there would be another notice coming, and that they would have to just get themselves ready for all those citizens who are going to start complaining again about their rashes. And he rolled his eyes, as did the representatives from LeeAnne, the company that had designed changes to the treatment plant, and the representatives present from DEQ. And I said to Howard at that meeting, do you know that you're in charge of a lot more than just the water in Flint? You're in charge of the trust that people have in the water in Flint. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak. I have lots more to share. I haven't put it in writing yet, but I'll make sure that I send it your way.
Thank you. And it's the flintwatercommittee.com. Thank you. Barbie Biggs? Barbie, you've been here a long time. Thank you.
But it was worth the wait. Thank you for coming to us. My name is Barbie Biggs. I am a founder of Stop the Violence, Increase Education and Peace, as well as I work in the state prison, Mississippi and Michigan prisons. I'm not going to take up much of your time because I know you must be tired as well, but I want to show you this shirt. We no longer asked our family and friends to come to Flint. Okay. 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 I'm sorry. Over here.
Okay.
We no longer ask our family and friends to come to Flint because of the water. I want to share a brief story with you about my sister. Most of you look seasoned, so maybe you can appreciate this story. My sister is in the hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. She has diabetes.
Take a breath.
They had to amputate her leg. I went to get her because we don't have family there. And the doctors told me that we're not in a crisis in Flint. We're in a disaster. And that they would take me to court if I tried to bring my sister to Flint because of the water. Because if she get one drop of water in an open wound, it could do more damage to her life, not just her limbs. When I look at you guys back there, and I have been back there all day, And no disrespect. I've been to every hearing that you've had in Washington, so I know you're tired of hearing it, but we're tired of living it. And I think this and that because you're tired. Imagine us. Imagine that my sister, which is like 60 plus years old, this is her home. She can't come home. And there's nothing I can do about it. It's nothing I could do because I would do it. I beg you guys, don't look at us. Don't look at me even now with pity. I'm just a colorless face. Think about even the babies and the elders. Help us. We did elect you guys. Senator, I appreciate you. We elected you guys, and we need help. You can make a name for yourself right now if that's what it takes, because if you can get us out of this, the whole United States know about us right now. I'm actually embarrassed, and I couldn't challenge a doctor for me to bring my sister home. I'm not educated like that, but I know my heart and I know the core of my heart. Everybody out here, I love them. We no longer even have a race, and I'm not going to say when I see someone, normally I wouldn't say if I don't see race when I see you, because yes, I do. But today I can't. We're all the same. The cities, our sister city in Detroit, we're all the same. So I'm going to let you go, but I'm begging you. I'm begging. I have no problem. Help us. Help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Haley.
I'm Thomas Haley. I am the Sierra Club Nipissing Group Secretary. Because Flint is the birthplace of the modern union movement, it was the target of the Cincinnati-based Kroger Company of union busting. It is my opinion what happened in Flint is 51.1% unionism and only 49.9% environmental justice, okay? I'm just doing half of this thing. My problem, I have gained some respect for the Flint Water Advisory Task Force co-chair Ken Sycamore, and have no respect for the Oversight and Government Reform Chairman Jason Chavez. Both chairs are concerned with the Republican brand. Schaefer's more than Sycamore. My problem with Governor Snyder that he made Michigan a right-to-work state and gave a business tax, tax breaks on the backs of the pensioners that will hurt Michigan, not just Flint. I was employed at Chicago Bridge and Iron. I worked for Robert McKicka and reported to Roger Reedy. These two engineers worked on the relicensing of Diable Canyon. Flint Mayor Dane Walling took one engineering course, I found out, okay? But he did not major in engineering. And if he did, he may have not pressed that button on April 25th, 2014, making the Flint River the water source. My McKicka, the guys talking about state engineering at the University of Illinois, Reedy at IIT, and they sort of walked their talk because Diable Canyon, where that nuclear power plant is working today. I want to address the Carigani pipeline. I wrote the letter to Jeff Wright that he could use the Sierra Club's name on. We support, the local group support that pipeline. I think, and you have to ask Jeff Wright, the original pipeline, Detroit pipeline, was for Flint because of the shenanigans of a guy named Katzman, Charles Stewart Mott, pulled Flint out of that project, and Detroit took it over. I think the reason for the Carigani pipeline is that the drain commissioner at that time was Ragoon, and that was his pet project. And Jeff just wanted to complete his mentor's pet project.
Thank you. Adam Murphy. Adam, thank you for being here. Hello.
Hi, and thank you for this opportunity to hear from the people. Jotted a few questions down here. First of all, why can't we get our puppy tested? From the state of Michigan, we have 3 Australian Shepherds, purebred. We were breeding those for the love, the hobby of owning animals. I've always had a passion for dogs and whatnot. Basically, when I was working at General Motors, when we heard about this gentleman working on the line in the engine plant noticed some corrosion on the parts that they were making. Also, me being a millwright working in the facility, knowing the information that was given to me, not realizing till after the fact, we had stopped drinking the water 3 months prior to them blowing the whistle on the water crisis. Our animal, we had tested before we got tested. My wife called the health department, and the health department said, we don't know where you can go to get tested. And so 90 days went by with us realizing not just the lead in the water, that happened after. The corrosive chemical that doesn't really get talked about went down our throats and into our body. That's what was corroding all these parts. That $3.4 million in lawsuit and damage was done to General Motors. Several months, 6 months, 8 months, I don't know. They wait to let the public know. And as that's going on, this project, they're putting all these new pipes in. They shut the switch off on the Flint River, and they get the Detroit water. From our pipes. They were already undergoing a project and replacing the paint shop, putting in a new paint shop, and you walk in there, you can't get a drinking fountain. But they didn't have the problem getting new pipes underground because they had the money. Now, money's power. But you all are leaders, right? Am I right? So you're only strong as the people you lead. If you can't lead the people, then you're worthless. And if you're going to stand up here and you're going to listen to the people, then do something for the people, because the government was not set to take advantage of the people. It was set to protect the people. Now, if you're going to get paid to protect the people, then you need to do the job. And don't set foot in a job that you cannot do. Now, there's more to where that came from. When I contacted the state of Michigan about my dog's test results, 350 parts per billion is considered toxic. The blood is so toxic, it took 38 pounds off my male Australian Shepherd at 2 years old, and now he's at 42 pounds in a week and a half. The puppy, only one, and my female had 2 previous litters, 6 and 7, 6 puppies, 7 puppies, and then now 1 puppy coming out with missing hair, problems with translucent skin, which is under development. I have pictures of the puppy if you'd like to see them. I can send them to you, whatever. The test results of our animals, our female was tested at 66 parts per billion. It took a month to get those results after we got contacted by Department of Agricultural, Michelle Shallow, who questioned me and was very rude and said, well, is your dog eating out of a ceramic bowl because that has lead in it? No, my pipe had 7,441 parts per billion, and I got people saying, no, it's the paint on the side of your garage. No, it's the soil that was tested, and there's hardly minuscule numbers of lead in the soil. 20 parts per billion in the soil, and she doesn't want to take in consideration that the water source we are using after letting it run for 5 minutes is still only 1,000 parts per billion less than it was sitting for 12, 15 hours. It's not changing anything. And this is months and months and months. My teeth are falling out. All our teeth are corroding. My kids, brand new teeth coming in, corroding. I can't eat food. I eat 1 meal a day because I'm nauseous. I'm sick. I lost my job, my car. The city is falling apart. Our police officers can't do their job. I had $1,600 in wheels and tires taken off my car because we got so much damn crime in this city. They ain't got time to deal with normal things. Well, somewhat normal. Enough's enough, guys. Tell the doctors too. We had them draw cord blood. They took 3 samples. We had a nurse give us a sample from Genesis Hospital because
The nurse gave us a sample.
gave us the sample. The nurse gave us the sample
Because she was
worried about
being lost.
Yeah, and they did lose them. They're not even in the system. And that's because people are afraid to do their job because they're going to get lost in the system. And where's my job? I made $85,000 a year. I got no money to speak of. All the tax, the federal tax that we got back, went to paying our bills, went to paying our medical care, went to paying for what? And then our taxes get raised. For what? We can't even sell our house. We can't go anywhere.
We can't leave.
We
if we
can't
want
get
to.
out because my credit's shot.
I have 5 kids that I have to bathe in bottled water every week. I mean, seriously? I mean, we're not low lives. I don't understand why there's no health care coming in to help my husband, to help my kids.
Free health care.
Why is this taking so long? Are you going to wait till my husband dies?
I'm on my way.
He's
And
falling apart every day.
You wait too long, you're gonna be in a world of mess, paying for my kids to get the education they need, paying for my kids and my wife and my baby, who I don't even know if my baby's damaged. If this was your child and you were in our situation, what would you do? You have the money to fix the problem. I'm middle class. The state tried turning us down on the government grant to fix our windows and do the reconstruction of our water system in our house. 98% of our pipes. You can't drink the water. You can't bathe in the water. I have burns up the side of my arm, blisters on my head, hair falling out, teeth falling out. I want something done now. You guys make 6 figures more than the average Joe in the city of Flint. Unless you're white class or you're making over 6 figures, you're the shit in the stick. And you don't care. Enough is enough with this whole heartless business mindset. I understand that.
Stuff up constantly.
Covering stuff up is not helping the situation. It's time to be the men that we were trained to be. If your fathers or your great-grandfathers heard about this, what would they say to you guys?
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shanice Frank. Did I do all right on the name? Shanice?
Yes, I'm Shanice. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
No problem. My name is Shanice Frank. I am 33 years old. Looking at all you guys, I'm technically nobody. But God did give me a brain to use, and technically I heard the word was called epistemology. It's the study of how you acquire knowledge. And though I do not have a PhD or any position like you, I do read books. And I want to remind you of a time back in the 1940s when Hitler had pursued what you call a Holocaust on a group of individual people. Now, when Hitler did this, the name Holocaust is derived from a Greek word. I don't want to mess the name up, but it is basically the burning of lamb or animals for sacrifice to a god. Why would you use a name, or the system will use a name to label human bodies in the situation as a Holocaust? Understanding it and being clear on words and how you use them, I would consider myself as a Lamb of God. I feel like there was a Holocaust done on my city. I hear everybody and I hear all of their complaints. I hear everything that they want. But one thing I ask is, you do have the power to give somebody back land. You took land from I won't say you, but I do know people in power have taken land from the Palestinian people over on the Gaza Strip. They took this land and they gave it to America, gave this land to the Israel people. It do not belong to them. To this day, they are still killing them. They are hurting them. We are not asking you to kill anybody, to hurt anybody, but I want my land here. It's not a big old country. It's not a whole lot to take. It's not a lot to ask for, but I believe that my city should be ran by our people that we choose. If not just the city, I believe that the people should stand up and ask that we take at least a state back from y'all. Give us something. Give us a place, one place on this earth, one place on this map where we could come and live and be peaceful, where we do not have to deal with you guys. If I tell you that I'm 33 years old next month in April, I only read books to get my knowledge. I only go to media, and I have some Jet magazines in my house that a guy who was living there left. And since the 1960s, since the 1950s, I could read back into those books, and I could tell you that I've been watching my ancestors, I've been watching different people with voting and asking for this side and for this side. But one thing we never do is look at the government as a whole and ask you to stop. Why are we voting? What are we still voting for? It's nothing to vote about anymore, because for how many ever centuries and years you guys been doing the same thing. People been dying, they steady asking for help, or pick this side or pick us. I don't want to choose a side no more, and I ask my city, my neighbors, my brothers and sisters, and my family not to choose a side no more, because all of y'all are the same. It's not a difference in between each side. Y'all all are the same. It's one government. Yeah, the Bible say, Matthew 6:16, that be not like the hypocrites because they disfigure their faces. Well, I see a government that is a hypocrite and who disfigured his face. He picked one side with this story, one side with that story, but at the end of the day, y'all not showing the people that y'all care. I am a young person. I'm not none of the elders that's in here telling you about what they saying. I'm only telling you what I read that was written. And what I seen written shows me that anybody standing saying that they want to vote, you sadly mistaken, because voting don't change nothing. When do you give us back something that belongs to us? I'm not here to really ask questions or get answers. I wasn't here all day. I just walked in and said, I want to know one thing. If you could give Israel a state that did not belong to her, why can't you give us something that do belong to us? We're not asking you to go burn down the whole country, tear up their land, what they call it, occupy your land, and I've been seeing the people scattered out. Y'all haven't seen that? No, you don't watch the news? I watch it, that's what they show me. I'm on Facebook, that's what they show me. And what I see is that you got, no, matter of fact, what I know for a fact is that you guys took land, gave it to a group of people, and they living. Why can't you do that with us? Give us this right here and just leave us the hell alone. Take it out of Michigan. I stop, no problem, but.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Cheryl Little.
First of all, thank you all for coming. And my first thing I want to say is, God said that it is foolish to put your trust in man. That is holding very right for us here in Flint. I get so tired of hearing, Flint is the poor little city. General Motors was built on my back and a whole lot of other people built Flint and everything else around the world. We made the cars and the trucks. Now look at what we're getting for thanks. We are poisoned, blatantly poisoned. For one thing, this is some things I want. We should be given most of what we are worth, not to Snidey, but as a people. I have had 2 hip replacements. I just found out the other day that I have what they say is arthritis in my spine. My shoulders lock. My daughter lives with me and my 2 grandchildren. My grandson is 6 years old. He has autism. He has blatantly got worse. We have to talk. We got a system now with the school where they were calling us to come get him every day. So now we talk him down. He talks to me. They call me Nene, or they talk to their mother. Now, he said, "Where's Maddie?" So now Maddie, she's 3, his sister, we put her on the phone. He won't say anything, but the teacher will tell us, okay, he's walking back down the hall to the school. We're constantly talking him down. Maddie is perfectly, but now she's uncontrollable. She has very bad outbursts. She will not sit down. One thing that is not on the table is those who want to stay, they are welcome to stay and good luck. Why haven't relocation come on the picture? Those who want to stay, fine. I'm the head of my household. I've got to get my family out of here. We're being poisoned to death. I have anxiety attacks. I am so sad. And that's not the person I am. I'm a fighter. I am so sad. I feel so misused and abused. You know, it just feels like nobody cares. We are people. We have hearts. We bleed. We cry. We pray. Y'all have forgotten us here. I got to get out of here. I got to get my family out of here. I have a small family anyway. My daughters live in Ann Arbor. I tell them, don't come here. Do not come. Mostly when I go, I have to drive. I'm getting old. I'm tired of driving up and down that highway. I need the rest of my family to help us with our grandchildren because they don't have a father that care. I need to leave. My house, I took so much pride in, I redid it. It's worth $0. I can't even sell it. $0. What if you all's property was worth $0? How would you feel about that? Would it devastate you? I am beyond devastation. You ought to treating us just like we're just nothing. That's the way a lot of us feel, and we have a lot of pride here in Flint. We're strong, but I mean, gosh, we third world. This is third world how we're living. My daughter came up to me today. Mom, look, her arm was fire red and it had a fever. I keep telling her, please don't get in the shower. She just can't do it. I got to take a shower. We need immediate help. We don't need no more promises. Where's all the money that came in here? Snyder has all the money. He won't release it. He won't even talk to our mayor anymore. What's going on? Can you help us, gentlemen? It's time out for all this talking. We are talked out. We need some action. Our kids are already, they will never be what God intended for them to be because of a that don't care. And he continuously showing he don't care. Y'all got to do something. This enough is enough. We can't have a garden this year. I mean, it's just, we can't keep living like this. We cannot keep living like this. We hired you all to protect us. We need y'all to do your job. Something's got to be done. He has to get out of there. This is not a business. You all are civil servants. This is not a business, and that's what he's running it like. We are not a business. We're human beings, flesh and blood. We're trying to raise our families. No, I get so sick of Flint. Flint is a poverty, impoverished city. Okay, and what does this keep being said for? No, we don't make as much as you all do. But I bet you have driven a truck or something that I physically, as a woman, has built. And a lot of other people. I want to thank you for your time, and I would like to see something happen for us. We deserve it. We have been to hell and back again and back again. We're tired. We are tired. Do you all understand that? We're tired. Would you be tired? Would you have sleepless nights? Would you just be sitting watching TV and tears just start falling? That's what happens to me. My babies, my grandchildren will never be what God intended for them to be. Now, I got to die and leave them. I don't know how nobody else is going to treat them with their special retardedness that Governor Snyder did to us. It can't be reversed. No pill, no shot, no therapy. Nothing is going to help these children. And they are our future. That is scary. Thank you.
Gina and Kennedy Lester? Janice?
Or is it Kennedy and
Gina and Kennedy Lester? Oh, there you are.
I want to show the shirt, but this is my best friend who designed these shirts, and it speaks volume. Everywhere I go, I get stopped because people are saying they can't believe that the government did this to us and our children. My daughter, she can't even keep her attention for a minute. This used to be a straight A student, Catholic school. Now her hair is falling out, teeth. My hair is out. I have to wear a hat. I have bald spots. Teeth are falling out. Medicaid doesn't, if you're an adult, Medicaid is like garbage. Only thing you can do is get your teeth cleaned, but it's not going to do me any good if I don't have any teeth to clean. And I have some points that I've written down. The first one, why didn't the people we voted in, you guys, when this crisis first hit, impeach Snyder? We wouldn't even be here now trying to collect 800,000 signatures. Why wasn't an impeachment put up? Everybody wanted to impeach Clinton for something he did that everybody I know does. But I don't know a lot of people who kill people and are able to go back to work. I don't know anyone who's killed people and have to be asked to step down. And then they have the, excuse my French, balls to say they're not going to step down. We don't want him. You guys shouldn't want him. He should be like the plague at the Capitol. No one should even want to touch his office. I want you guys and Snyder to explain to my 7-year-old why she can't concentrate. Why she's no longer able to go to Catholic school? Because her mom lost her job because she was lead poisoned. Why am I having to fight unemployment for unemployment? Because I was lead poisoned. I've been in your office. I was told to go see Kildee. I'm tired of getting ran around, go see this person, go see that person. I'm unemployed. I can't afford to keep driving to Lansing. I can't afford to keep going to DC. I'm glad you guys are here on our turf. And I want you guys to be here more often on our turf. We shouldn't have to come to you guys. It should be so many politicians in Flint trying to listen. We should be tired of seeing you guys. But instead, you guys come, you hide. If it wasn't for Facebook, this crowd probably wouldn't even be here. No one knows where to catch up with anybody. No one's in their office. Their staff is hiding them out. That goes for Lansing and DC. Me and my daughter, we've been to DC. We went in those halls. We went in Senator Mike Lee's office on St. Patrick's Day. And we went 3 or 4 times, and this joker never appeared. I left my name in his book. My daughter left her name in his book. You think we've heard from him? We've been back from DC now going on 3 weeks. It's like we're throwing needles into 10 stacks of hay. The Medicaid system, it's a joke. What the heck is a spin down? When I tell people from other states about this spin down, they say, man, they just dragging y'all up and down the street. Y'all getting drugged up and down I-75. It's a joke. I got this baby who's got these rashes. Her body is permanently scarred. Permanently scarred is what the doctors are telling me. I got permanent scars. I've had to have a partial hysterectomy at 39 years old. Nobody could tell me why I have all these cysts and lesions all over my body. I got poked like a guinea pig since 2014. 3 months after this switch, I was down to 116 pounds. I lost about 65 pounds in 3 months. I collapsed at work. My company put me on FMLA. They even extended it. No one could tell me what was wrong with me. I've been to every doctor in this city, every specialist in this city. No one would ever test me for lead. They're afraid to touch it. You start talking about lead, they want to push you out of the doctor's office. You start talking about lead, they say, well, it's a possibility. You guys are the first that this has ever happened. We're just going to have to see what happens. We don't have time to see what happens. And as far as taking care of the kids under 6, I'm with that. Trust me, I believe all the kids should be taken care of. But if these kids don't have any parents to raise them because we're all lead poisoned and dead or in the crazy house, what good is it going to do to take care of the kids? The adults have to get some attention too. I should be able to go in the dermatologist and say, I'm itching, I'm burning, I'm bleeding. I can't because I'm stuck with this stupid Medicaid. I demand some funding be put on the streets of Flint immediately. I demand that the nurses are put back in the schools immediately. How are you going to monitor the kids? No one can tell me because there's no nurses. My daughter's been sent home because she's scratching and bleeding. Bleeding? Do you know that there's been 6,800 suspensions in the Flint school district, and we ain't got but about 4 schools? I wonder why. Because they're all lead poisoned, and they're above the age of 6. My daughter comes home telling me someone bust out the window, someone threw a pencil at the teacher. All of this stuff is just happening by coincidence lately? No. We're poisoned. We're pissed off. The heat is coming. You know what happens when it get hot. People get even madder. And I'm afraid of what's gonna happen the first 80-degree day in Flint. I'm really afraid, because I'm close, my ears are close to these streets, and I hear a lot of things that are gonna jump off, because it's some brothers out here that y'all messed around and let get poisoned that already had issues because they can't get a job, can't take their girlfriend to the movies no more, can't go to the mall and buy a pair of gym shoes no more, because GM treats us like we're a piece of crap. I grew up over there on Industrial and Page. When I was a kid, we were able to ride our bikes up in Buick City, talk to engineers. It was an open door policy. One day, the plants just disappeared. All of a sudden, my dad said, I don't know how we're gonna eat. Wow. I don't know how you're gonna go to college. Wow. And then GM had the nerves to say, we're gonna donate, I think, $3 million to Flint. What? It wouldn't be no General Motors if it weren't for my father, my grandfather, and a lot of these other people sitting out here in this audience and their parents. GM owes Flint. We don't owe them nothing. That's why our infrastructure is so screwed up here. They were pouring toxins in the street, in the river, and everywhere else they could because nobody was watching them. And nobody cared because they were General Motors and they did what they wanted to do. They came through here and you might as well say they raped us. And they took off. And now they got the nerves to say, oh, you can put a referral in online and good luck. Flint should have first dibs on these GM jobs.
Thank you, Gina.
Nobody in this state worked harder for GM than Flint residents. I know so many people with missing fingers and toes because they were in those factories pushing out those cars. You guys have traveled. Name one other city where you see so many General Motors cars. Nowhere, not even in Detroit. All you see in this city is GM. All you see in this city is the residents that were used and abused by GM. And this Governor Snyder, I'm going to wrap it up because I know you guys got to get back to your big, beautiful mansions and clean water. But this guy, he's making you all look bad. My daughter says she doesn't trust government now. She don't know about a Democrat or a Republican. All she knows is the person that was over the state that she lives in poisoned her, and no one did anything about it. And here we are going on almost 3 years, and we finally get a panel to come and sit in Flint and listen. That's crazy. And another point, not one state official has visited the schools and talked to these babies about what's going on. We watch TV. She asked me, are we going to be like that show, The Walking Dead? They're terrified. They don't know what's happening. All they know is they're losing their minds. They're seeing their parents lose their minds. They're losing their hair. They can't concentrate. They can no longer get along with their friends. They don't know what's happening to their bodies. But we got all these smart people that work up in Lansing, and no one has said, well, let's send someone out to the schools. Let's put on a play or something so these kids can kind of understand what's going on. And the reason why we haven't seen anybody from Lansing is because they don't care. And they don't have a solution. We got all these brilliant minds, and no one has thought, let's put some reverse osmosis systems in the homes of Flint. I had to have a group of students from UCLA fly in because they are originally from China. They heard about this just last week, and they donated a system to my home. Why? They said they couldn't believe we didn't have systems set up in our homes. They said, you guys have been living off of bottled water that's going to contaminate you even more in a couple months when it's hot. I'm letting everybody know, if you got bottled water sitting in your basement or your house, it's going to contaminate you even more than the lead real soon as the heat hits it. It's no good. These are the kind of things I want to see you guys telling the public. The truth. Don't take a bath in it. Don't brush your teeth in it. Don't let your kids even wash their hands in it. Don't wash your clothes in it. It's poisonous. It ain't no other way around it.
Thank you.
Just think about that on your way back home.
Thank you.
When you take a shower tonight.
Carol Freeman.
She's coming.
Thank you very much. I'll try and be brief. First of all, I want to explain, I live on Court Street. My house has high lead, but I'm not here to talk about my problem with lead. I figure I'm finished. But I do have a problem, and I think you need to think carefully about the emergency manager law. Mr. Hanna-Attisha knows me, Mr. Neely knows me. I worked at the City of Flint since 1997, and the reason I'm speaking out is because people have died and children have been harmed. I will tell you I had some reservations about doing so because having been a city employee and experiencing a short time working under the first emergency, the second, let's put it that way, in 2011, I believe, Mr. Brown came into power as an acting mayor in 2009. I was the grant administrator. I wrote grants and I administered grants. Unlike a lot of people, I do trust government. I believe that the public's business is public, and I believe that that's the way I always worked, and that's the people I worked with until 2010. At that time, my boss in economic development was relieved of her duties, 30-some years experience, good experience, and we were doing very well. She was relieved and another person was brought in. Public's business no longer became public. It became a culture of fear. And in fact, I sit here and think, is there going to be retaliation or threats against me because I'm speaking out? I wrote the energy grant because we lost it because of mismanagement. I question government that consolidates power to the point that one person then can pick who he chooses, whether or not they had the expertise to do so. There was a culture of, don't listen to city employees. They don't count. We have our own agenda. I want to tell you the grants that I managed and worked with since 2001 until 2010, roads, sewers, and water mains. We did water mains on Pearson Road. We did water mains on Flushing Road, Martin Luther King, University Avenue, Williams Street. There was a plan, and we found that this plan needed to include service lines because they often broke and people were often too poor to replace them. The funds that we used were community development block grant funds. I was told, well, they stopped doing that because it wasn't eligible. This is federal dollars, entitlement dollars. For public facilities, public improvements, with the exception of buildings for general purposes of conduct of government, they include water and sewer lines. The only requirement is they have to be put in areas where the residents are at least 51% low to moderate income. The reason I'm speaking to this is I cannot, and I don't want to be sour grapes, we're building a new water line from Lake Huron. a city administrator or a city EFM, you would think, would continue that work. I was told by a former coworker, and you can bear it out, Williams Street by Hurley Hospital was the last water main that was put in, and that was probably 2011. The EFMs wasted 5 years fiscal money of entitlement dollars, which the state doesn't have to give us, the residents don't have to give us. Now, what kind of common sense, consolidated government in a small group with people that don't have the expertise, don't want to listen to city employees? The governor's biggest mistake was to appoint an EFM because the work would have continued. There was plans to continue that work because our infrastructure is old. We have some lines that are wood. So anyway, I'm a little bit nervous about speaking out. I'm not sure if there's going to be retaliation or whatever, but I've worked in government since 1997. I do trust government. I believe you all will do the right thing. I think a lot of people don't understand that you do the right thing, and the public's business is public. A small group of people decide they can make it. They don't. It was a culture of privacy, and that's wrong. And not listening. And I'm sure if there were other former city employees sitting here with me that worked with me, they would say the same thing. Nobody wanted to listen. And I will add this. In 2010, I retired because I was put under so much pressure. Nobody wanted to listen to anything I said, even institutional history, knowledge, expertise. I was useless, ineffective, so I left. I retired. But you need to know, I believe the governor, the state really needs to be held accountable. I'm not blaming, and I don't want to blame. Somebody made a big mistake, and people have died, and children have been harmed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. Colette Metcalf.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Colette Metcalf, and it just gets harder every time I think about it. 30 family members in Flint. I don't live in Flint, but I got poisoned because I'm fortunate enough, I'm retired, got several cousins, got one that was pregnant, drank the water, baby got poisoned before she was even born. One cousin's at a 5.5, he's 3 years old. Behavioral problems like you've never seen. You saw the babies that came in with the Murphy family, the newborn. Picture this for me, if you will. Say that baby's in Hurley, in NICU. It's one of your grandchildren, one of your nieces or nephews, somebody, maybe one of your children, if you can think back to that time. Now imagine that that child needs a blood transfusion. Think about that. What's going on? You've got all these people in this town. And it's not just Flint, this is nationwide. We've got lead everywhere. We've got TTHMs and we've got copper. And every other thing that was in that Flint River. You want that GM EPA 2007 report? I have it. I've spoke with Thomas back there. He's got my information. You should read it. That Flint River should never, ever have been used. And it should never be used again. Jeff Wright's answer, when somebody asked him the other night, would it ever be used again? He said, well, so-and-so said no, and the mayor said no. Is it safe, they said? He said yes. I said, no, Water Defense just did a study. So he backtracks. And he says, oh, that's in the sediment behind the dam. So if your Coca-Cola right there had contamination in the bottom of it, would you just pick it up and drink it because it's at the bottom? Wrong answer, men. Wrong answer. GM EPA 2007, that report. We've got to think about this blood supply. I spoke with Dr. Murphy, our U.S. Surgeon General. 6 weeks ago about the blood supply. Copper, lead, no amount of lead is safe for anybody. But you just saw that little baby. You've heard all day long the effects. I have a list of effects myself. I'm not going to bore you with them. You're tired. But what I'm asking you to do, I want you to go and I want you to talk to these people at American Red Cross and TAIL-CRIS, and I want you to shut them the hell down, because that blood is contaminated. It's the blood, it's the plasma, it's the donations, and we've got donations, bones, skin, that's frozen. Lead affects your DNA. Now, you need a heart transplant. Maybe it'll come from Flint, because they can fly it all over. These donations are going to Ohio, you guys. They're going to Ohio. They're being shipped all over the United States. We need blood, yeah, but we also need safety. We have the opportunity. The world is watching us now. I beg you, change this. You have the power to change this. Don't let them get by with this for the greedy money, because TAIL-CRIS is all about the greedy money. American Red Cross, they do wonderful things. Last I heard, they got $250,000. They've handed out some water. That's it. So, what's it going to be? Is it going to be your family? You think about that. Think about it. If you're on that I-75 corridor, where are you going? You're going to Hurley. Is the water safe there? Where's the Legionella? This is not just Flint that's affected. I don't even live in Flint. But I've been poisoned. My children have been poisoned. I've got 30 family members. But TAIL-CRIS and American Red Cross, you guys have to look at this seriously. Because the mental retardation from that lead and the copper, what if you have kidney failure? You're on dialysis and you need a blood transfusion and there's more lead. It's more than likely lead and copper is going to shut your kidneys right on down, and there's a death sentence. People are dying. Just from the water. So now we're going to ship the blood out? We're going to ship the donations out? I beg you, please, stop them. We can get blood donations. This is 2016. It can be flown in from all over the world if we need it. But it's 6 weeks after I asked the U.S. Surgeon General what was going on. Go look at his page. I'm Redhead on Facebook. I've been on his Facebook. I've talked to him personally. I talked to Dr. Branch. But when I stood at Mount Carmel Baptist Church and I asked him and his team of 15 of the world's best doctors couldn't give me an answer? No. They knew the answer. They know that that blood and those organs are tainted. And it's deadly. It's not just Flint that's affected. This affects everybody. I beg you. Don't take this lightly. Go back, change it, get Flint the help that they need. I don't care that this is man-made. You guys got to pull together and work together, Democrats, Republicans, whatever. It's a big frickin' mess, and we all know that. It's shameful, it's sinful. And you know what I spent my last weekend doing? Putin sent his team over. That's who I talked to this last weekend. I showed him our shame. All the leaking Superfund sites, the auto salvage right by our water plant. How do we look to America? How do we look to ourselves? How do we answer our children, our grandchildren, the next generation? We polluted it. We let GM come in and we let them do it. And then we knew the blood was tainted. But we sat and we went home. Please don't let that be. Please don't be U.S. Surgeon General Murthy. Do something. Do all that you can. Make this a top priority. Let's set standards. Let's show them how great Michigan is. We can't fix the people that are dead from Legionella. But you heard Carrie Weber talk about she'd like to have her hot water heater checked. I was assured by EPA that every water heater had been checked. It hasn't. We need your help. I'm begging you. Please. I mean, it's tragic. I don't want to point fingers. I don't care. Personally, I think Walling, with his education that he has, and he knew that there wasn't phosphates, and he knew there wasn't equipment, and he pushed that button anyway, I blame him. But I'm not going to sit here and go through all the reasons why. We've got to have solutions and what we're going to do to fix it. So what do you say, guys? Anybody even been to the Red Cross? Do you have any connections with the Red Cross? Tell Chris? Anybody in your family a nurse? Doctors?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jim, Kasha?
Well, I'm glad here at the beginning of the hearing that you're going to listen to the people. You know, for 10 years I've been trying to get listened to in Lansing to help children who's been brain damaged from prenatal alcohol exposure, and no one has listened yet. It's worse than lead. After listening to LeeAnne Walters talk, Michigan's engineers and universities should be ashamed of themselves. I'm ashamed of them. And I wish I was as articulate as LeeAnne was. Maybe you would have listened to me, or you will listen to me. But anyway, I'm going to get right to the chase, since it's my understanding that you want to know what you should do. So I'm going to get to that first. What to do now? Number one, keep politics out of water treatment. Number two, very important, pass legislation requiring directors of water and wastewater operations to be professional engineers and tenured civil servants, free from political interference. Anyone who has made water treatment decisions in this city who was not a water operator and or a professional engineer should be in jail or prison. The same with professional engineers who said corrosion control was not needed. Number three, do a proper, transparent engineering analysis of the KWA to come up with a best regional solution regarding the Great Lakes Water Authority, Detroit Water and Sewage Department, and the Caringonging Water Authority. It's not the Holy Trinity yet, but it could be. There's something wrong here, as Jerry Preston pointed out. The logic was flawed. Something's not right. Number four, I'll get into that later. Number four, continue. We started in 1979, just outside this building, replacing leaky and compromised water mains and any lead service lines encountered. The reason for the high cost of Flint water, as Jerry Preston brought up, was leaky water mains and the massive amount of water main breaks. Professor Mark Edwards, in his testimony in Washington, D.C. The week before last, told the congressional hearing this was the reason that Flint's water bills were so high, is they had more water main breaks than anywhere in the country. Okay? It doesn't make any sense. Flint was getting water wholesale rates from DWSD, just like Jerry pointed out, and selling it to Flint Township. It's your infrastructure. The infrastructure that we were replacing in 1979 and had to stop when GM pulled the plug in 1986, okay? This was all being done, massive amounts of infrastructure replacement. All right, so stop, number five, stop attaching past due water bills to people's tax bills. That's immoral. Number six, replace the DHH director, Nick Lyons, with a medical doctor. Now that you know what caused the Flint crisis, may I continue? 2 minutes.
We have one person left from Flint.
You know,
that
I've been
is
here
from
since
Flint.
I've been here since 9 o'clock. I'm a citizen of the United States. You're going to be using my tax dollars because I still have to pay federal tax dollars even though I live in Canada. You know, you got to. You know, I'm entitled to speak here.
I'll give you 1 minute.
You know, now that you know the crisis, you should be back in Lansing passing legislation to make sure it doesn't happen again, and writing checks to fix it. Say goodbye to your $614 million rainy day fund. Okay. The task force said this was environmental injustice, and that says it all. This and the water shutoff crisis in Detroit are clearly environmental injustice. Dumb and dangerous. Governor Steiter and his EMs made just stupid, just dumb decisions made possible by legislation some of you may have voted for, all right, and are responsible for this disaster. It was dumb and dangerous to deny the citizens of Flint the clean, pure Michigan water they enjoyed for 50 years and make them drink out of the drainage ditch outside this building. A clear case of environmental injustice. It's also dangerous. Dangerous as well, and one thing missing from the Flint task report was a proper discussion of the appointment of Howard Croft, an electrician who installs solar panels by Governor Snyder and his EM to head Flint's water treatment plant. It was dangerous, possibly illegal, and if not, it should be.
Mr. Cascia, you have the cards. Would you please put those online for us? We have a lady that has come back that is from the city of Flint that we would like to have her testimony. I appreciate that you've come here again, and we have the flintwatercommittee.com for you to finish those comments. Thank you for being here. Noreen?
I've been here most of the day, but I had to go home and take care of my family. I consider myself lucky because I stopped using the Flint before they even. I couldn't afford water. I started buying paper plates, plastic silverware, tin pans to cook in because it was cheaper than washing dishes. I go to the laundromat because it's cheaper than using the own water in my home. My home. It's my home and I pay taxes for it. And there's no other word but wrong about this whole situation. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It's as simple as that. You've changed my life. I went for help. I've never gone for help for food. I had to go apply for a bridge card, and I was denied because I was $140 over the limit to receive food that I've never had to ask for before. I've raised 6 very successful children on very little, and then you take more away. I can't tell you how violated I feel. Because I pay taxes, I think everybody should have been informed of what your ideas were before you did them, and let the people vote on it. My heart breaks for the children of this community and for their parents, and God knows how much more to the future generations of their children. We don't even know how bad it is, and it's bad. And I think it was a crime what happened here, and all because of money. And the biggest, hardest thing to listen to is Rick Snyder say that he did this only to save money. Not my money. Who is he saving money? When you can't afford water for your children, how do you explain that to them? Water. It was cheaper to buy the bottled water. So I stopped using the water way before they even switched to the lead water. And I consider myself lucky. but still violated. And it continues. There's no end to it. I understand it's been over 700 days. Well, it's been longer for me because I stopped before they switched. And I'm from Detroit. And there was nothing wrong with the water that was there. I live in Flint now because my son was born deaf. And the schools weren't giving him enough of the education that he needed where we were. So where we were bought me a home in Flint. So that's where I live. And that's why I'm here, for the Michigan School for the Deaf. It's a wonderful school. And those kids who are there, some of them don't even live in Flint. They come and they stay at dorms. And so their parents aren't aware of what, or, might not have been in touch with what was going on for them who live in the dorm. It's an old school. I'm sure they have old pipes. The school is fine. It's old. I mean, it's not old, it's brand new, but the dorms are very old, and I understand there were some problems there. I also kind of wonder why there's no interpreter here. End of my story, but it's not. I listened to these heartbreaking stories today, and I stopped myself from complaining about money because I don't have any, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? The money, to save money. I can't stand hearing Rick Snyder say that he was trying to save money, because he wasn't saving money for me. And I'm not here with a sad story, a terrible, heartbreaking story, and I consider myself being blessed because of that. But it's still not easy, and my gripe is about the money. And it's still coming. There's no relief. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you for coming back and sharing that.
Thank you for listening.
I'd like to say thank you to the residents who've come and participated in today's hearing. This community has shown a long and overdue, was long and overdue for a forum to have your voices heard. I realize that our time and efforts here today pale in comparison to the trials and tribulations you all are experiencing. I appreciate your determination and your spirit and your passion. As I've said it before, but I'll continue to repeat it, we are determined as a committee to provide solutions. Thank you for coming and welcoming us to your community. I've visited with many community leaders, business owners, and had the opportunity to hear from so many of you. I'd like to say thank you to Senator Ananick for all that he continues to do and provide us with the information and bring a true passion to Lansing for us. The committee plans to meet again in a couple weeks. And without any further business, the committee stands adjourned. Thank you.